Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners meeting for May 14th, 2019. I'd like to welcome everybody to our meeting. We'll begin our meeting today by asking Pastor of Victory Christian Fellowship Church, Mike Chumley, to come forward to give our invocation, and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Harvey. Please stand if you're able.
Thank you. Let's pray. Father God, we just come before you this morning, and first and foremost, we want to give you thanks and praise for the servants who are sitting before us. Each and every one of these men and women, God, for their hours of dedication, Lord, their hours of service to this community. And God, I pray right now that you would give each and every one of them, Lord, the wisdom of Solomon. Lord, that you would impart into them your divine will. God, that you would order this meeting. God, that your will would be done in everything. Lord, we pray right now over Putnam County. God, that your hand of favor would be upon us. Lord, that you would bless us and pour out your Spirit here in this place. And God, we will be careful to give you all the praise and all the glory for everything that you accomplish. God, we pray all of this in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Chumley, and thank you, Commissioner Harvey. Commissioners, we'll move down to our item number 2 on our agenda, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes as spelled out on our agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey and a proper second by Commissioner Goddard. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes pass. Okay, we're going to deviate from our agenda a little bit because we do have some people who have to participate in the presentations and have to get back to their regular schedule. So we're going to go down to presentations, and we'll go to item A, which is Proclamation National Drug Court Month. I've asked Commissioner Rawls to read this proclamation. If I ask the Honorable Judge Morris to come forward, and I'll meet you at the podium.
Ready? This is a proclamation number 2019-39 declaring May 2019 Drug Court Month in Putnam County, Florida. Whereas drug courts and other treatment courts have served over 1.4 million individuals, and whereas they are now recognized as the most successful criminal justice intervention in our nation's history, whereas they save up to $27 for every $1 invested and up to $1,300 for every individual they serve. And whereas 75% of the treatment courts graduates will never see another pair of handcuffs. Whereas treatment courts significantly improve substance abuse treatment outcomes, substantially reduce substance abuse and crime, and do so at a less expense than other criminal justice strategies. And whereas treatment courts facilitate community-wide partnerships, bringing together public safety and public health professionals in the fight against substance abuse and criminality. And where there are now more than 3,000 drug courts and other treatment courts nationwide. And whereas drug courts and other treatment courts are the cornerstone of criminal justice reform sweeping the nation. And whereas treatment courts demonstrate that when one person rises out of substance use and crime, we all rise. And whereas the time has come to put a treatment court within reach of every eligible person in need, and whereas the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners recognize the successful work of the practitioners, the participants of the drug court program to reduce the impact of drug abuse in our community. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Putnam County Board of County Commissioners, in a meeting assembled on the 14th day of May 2019, that the month of May 2019 is hereby declared Drug Court Month in Putnam County, and all citizens are urged to recognize the significant contribution of the drug courts and congratulate this year's drug court graduates.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we
Okay, we have a
accept this
motion. We have
proclamation.
a motion by Commissioner Rawls and a second by Commissioner Turner. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Proclamation passes. Thank you.
Good morning. Once again, I want to thank you for having us here today to talk about drug court and to just reiterate how important drug court is in our community. Just to give you all a refresher and tell the general public about some things that are happening with regard to drug court, I want to just give you some information and some numbers. The last numbers we have in 2016, 72,000 Americans died from an overdose. Most of those overdoses were caused by opioids. And about 65% of every inmate in the United States that's in prison has a substance abuse disorder. This month, we are celebrating 30 years of drug court. That's more than 3 decades of justice system reform. And drug courts and DUI courts and veteran courts and other problem-solving courts provide structure, supervision, and an evidence-based treatment to address substance abuse and mental health issues. The Putnam Adult Felony Drug Court began in January of 2002 under the leadership of Judge Art Nichols. When he retired in 2010, I took over the helm of drug court. I've been doing it for about 9 years, and I really love it. Drug court's a very collaborative community effort, and I want to introduce to you my drug court team and some other people who are instrumental in making drug court work in Putnam County. So if I call your name, if you'd just stand up. Kimberly Clark is our drug court coordinator. Suzette Young is our senior drug court counselor with Stuart Marchman. Is Miss India here this morning? Okay. We also have another drug court counselor named India Williams. Kenny Janesk, he is with the state attorney's office. He's the division chief here in Putnam County, and he works in our drug court. So he and his office are very committed to helping folks in Putnam County enter and successfully complete drug court. Is our public defender here this morning, Jaleesa? We also have a representative from the public defender's office on our team all of the time, and they are very instrumental in helping us. We have a probation officer who works with us. Right now his name is Chris Davis. We have an awesome working relationship with the Putnam County Sheriff's Office. Colonel Joe Wells was just, I can't tell you how instrumental he was some years ago in really selling this program to his officers and letting them know how they could utilize it on the street to help folks in Putnam County that needed some help and, you know, something that would help them become productive citizens in our community again. So he's been very instrumental in that. Right now, Lieutenant Dan Taylor, who's in the back of the room, he's assigned to work with us. He has done a fantastic job. We are so happy with the work he is doing with drug court. I just sent an email out to his supervisors last week telling him how much we appreciated their collaborative efforts and working with Lieutenant Taylor. We also have with us today Nancy Russo. She's with Stuart Marchman. And so I think that's everybody. I'm going to ask my drug court participants to stand up at this time so you can see the folks that your dollars are. Thank you. Our mission is to identify community members with substance abuse disorders and to assist them in addressing that issue so that they can become productive citizens. We're one of more than 3,000 drug courts, and we're serving about 150,000 people annually in the United States. Locally, we have had 201 people who have graduated from our drug court since its inception in 2002. We had 6 graduates just last week that successfully completed our program. I encourage everybody to come to a drug court graduation. You talk about getting your batteries re-energized. Now, you know, when you see somebody that has really changed their life, they produce a board that they show at graduation. Most of them start with 1 or 2 or 3, you know, pictures from when they were arrested. And then it goes forward and you see the difference. Some people you can hardly recognize their mugshot and then the picture that you see of them today. Very moving and very inspirational. Over the years, our drug court has produced more than a dozen drug-free babies in Putnam County, and we've also helped a number of families work on their case plan when the Department of Children and Families has intervened in their family, and they've been successful in reunifying with their children through that process. So, you know, we give people a real entire program of how they can start changing their life. As each of you may know, Florida remains a state that has one of the highest rates of incarceration in the nation. About 40% of Florida's inmates are in prison for nonviolent drug-related crimes. And the estimated cost of housing an inmate in Florida for 1 year ranges from somewhere between $22,500 upwards of $30,000 if that inmate has medical conditions. When you translate that into a daily basis, that's $61 to $82 a day for the taxpayers of this state to house someone in prison. Our drug court program costs about $5,800 per year per participant, or roughly $16 a day. So when you take that $61 to $82 and compare that to the $16 a day we're spending, it's quite a savings. And to boot, I mean, we get a productive member back, contributing member back in our society. When we put folks in prison and they come out, they're not always coming back and becoming a productive member of our society. You know, men and women, they're taking care of themselves, they're taking care of their family, they're taking care of their children, and they're contributing to our community on a daily basis. In addition to saving money by not incarcerating these folks, just think about the crime reduction and, you know, people in our community who aren't having things stolen from their home. Most of these folks spend somewhere between $50 to $100 a day supporting their addiction habit, and when they can't make that money, they start committing property crimes, and, you know, so then we all suffer. When we stop that vicious circle, then everybody benefits from that. As Commissioner Rawls said in the proclamation, 72% of our graduates have no new felony convictions since they left drug court. That's a pretty good, I mean, you know, I couldn't ask for much. I mean, I'd love for it to be 100%, but we're not ever going to get that. But 72, I'm happy with that. The supervision and the guidance that drug court offers each participant is invaluable, though, in their success. If you leave people to their own devices who are suffering with addiction, 70% of them will leave a treatment program if you put them in it. They will leave that before they have reached some benefit from the program. Our participants have got a vested interest in this program. It's not just that we're receiving funding from the County Commission, which we so appreciate, but they have to pay weekly to participate in this program. And every person who is in drug court has to perform at least 140 hours of community service for this community. So we're getting that back. I mean, if you value that even at $10 an hour, which is what probation values it at, we're getting a lot of benefit from that. Most of the folks that are in drug court, sir, they do so many hours, in excess of 140 hours, we can't even keep up with them. I mean, they really are giving back. They're paying it forward, and they're, you know, trying to help a community that's giving them a helping hand. Y'all can probably see that I'm pretty passionate about drug court. I think that it is, you know, probably one of the single most successful interventions in our nation's history that's helping people with drug addiction and mental health. And we want to stop, you know, or we want to help participate in stopping the public from viewing addiction as a moral failing. Addiction is a disease, and instead of punishing people that have a substance abuse disorder, we need to be trying to offer them treatment. And instead of indifference, we want to show them compassion. I'd be thrilled for the time when a drug court is not necessary. Yes, I'm trying to talk myself out of a job, but I think we really, you know, we all need to be working towards that. We all know what an epidemic this is in our country. That's why today I'm here to give you a big thank you, and that's why I've brought my drug court people here to give you a big thank you and to ask you to continue to support our program. It's really been a catalyst for change in Putnam County, and I'm looking forward to, you know, us continuing helping our local citizens get back on track. If the commission would be kind enough to indulge us, I'd like to ask a couple, or one of our former participants and a current participant just to come forward and say a few words. They won't take but a few minutes of your time. Thank you. Who wants to go first? Michael? Chris? Okay. This is Mike, and he's one of our participants, and he's fairly new in our program, but he's got a few things he'd like to share with you.
How y'all doing today? We just want you to know that we appreciate everything that y'all do from our side of it. It's hard to find people who understand what we're going through, and they understand. Without them, we would be lost. And they're helping us restore relationships with our family, get our lives back on track, back in line with God, holding ourselves accountable for our actions. Very, very much so holding ourselves accountable for our actions. And we just appreciate, from the judge to the janitor, y'all have the right people in place, I promise you. So it's just, it's great to have people who care about you. They're saving lives. They've already saved my life, even though I'm new to the program. I'm changing. I feel a change. And there's no price you can put on a life without drug court and any kind of help for addiction. Where would we be? You know. So that's basically all I want to say. Just we appreciate everything y'all are doing.
This is Chris, and he is one of the folks who graduated from drug court last week, so he's finished up.
Yeah, it's definitely an awesome program. It saved my life. I probably wouldn't be standing here today. I'd probably be incarcerated in prison, dead, no telling what. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of the ones that when I first came to the program, I thought furlough, you know, and I had some bumps in the road. Just got sent to rehab long term and learned a lot of stuff while I was there to help me through the, rest of my life. I learned a really good trade while I was there. Best meat slinger in town, cutting meat. I love it. Everything's going really well. I just wanted to thank the team. Let Miss Suzette, I know I love her to death. She's like something special to me, that's for real. The rest of the team is awesome also. I just wish the best for everyone, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your continued support of our program.
Mr. Chairman.
The Honorable Tim Smith. Tim, you want to make a few comments?
Yes, if you don't mind, and thank you for giving me just a few minutes here to speak about drug court. And I appreciate the history that Judge Moore shared with you about the longevity of this program, but also want to mention that this program, from the state perspective, is not funded by state dollars. Local dollars have to be identified to make this happen, and this commission years ago, at the request of Judge Nichols, found a way to fund that. So I know that all of you and us are going through our budget preparation process now, and so as you go through that and you see that line item, drug court, you can reflect back to today and see the value of what those dollars are bringing to our community. But from a personal note, I want to say, because I've been your elected clerk for 18 years and was with this program when it started, I was very skeptical that this program would work. I remember the first graduate, Hal. If you ever hear Hal's story, you will have tears in your eyes just like I do, and I've heard it many times, and every time I'm still amazed that that gentleman turned his life around from where he was, from being face down on a concrete sidewalk with a sheriff's knee behind his back and his hands cuffed, and thinking to himself, I got to do something different. And he didn't know how to do that. But the program, with the guidance that's given from professionals, to the support of other participants, and I want to congratulate all of those that are here today that are in the program. It's a tough program. I'm telling you, I watch it from the sidelines. It is tough. but it has to be tough for you to get through. And as Mike mentioned in his speech, reconnecting to families is really the important part of that. The family support is so crucial to that. But what really makes this work is Judge Morse. And the two participants that left here, when they left, they hugged a judge. Now, you don't ever hug a judge. But that's the passion that my friend Libby puts into this program. And Libby is one of two county court judges, her and Judge Boatwright. We're in a 4-county circuit, so those two county court judges really are our county connection to courts. And because our circuit is made up of 4 other counties, it's probably going to be rare that we elect a Putnam County person to a circuit court judge seat anymore. It used to be that one of the circuit court seats was designated as a Putnam County seat, but now they're all circuit, so they can be moved, transferred, and that's been happening over the last few years. So I want to thank Judge Morse and my friend Libby for her commitment to that, for being our county court judge. We had jury selection yesterday, and she treats our jurors just as she treats the drug court participants, with dignity and respect, and people appreciate that. So I wanted to congratulate her and thank her for her commitment to that.
Thank you for those kind words, Mr. Smith. And I would be remiss, or I was remiss, in not mentioning Mr. Smith and his office and how instrumental they are in our drug court. They dedicate a clerk to work with us in our drug court, keep track of all of our records and all of our minutes. She comes to court. She does all of the paperwork that I need to have done from the court side. And so I really, I wish Missy was here today so that we could congratulate her. But thank you, Mr. Smith, very much for you and your office's dedication to our program. And I appreciate those kind words so much. Thank you. Mr. Rawls?
I just wrote some random thoughts down as I was listening to you guys talk, and what I wrote down the word accountability when Mike was talking, forgiveness, redemption, and then I wrote down courage, because it does take a lot of courage for you folks to stand in front of us in a public forum and be able to admit your faults and rise up, and therefore the grace of God go I and everybody else in this room. I don't think there's anybody in here that if it weren't for redemption or forgiveness would be sitting where we are now. So, 25% recidivism rate, that's awesome. I think that hopefully this commission can help in the process by moving the county forward economically with jobs and housing, because that would be the next step. As serving on the Public Safety Council or committee, that's some of the things we've talked about is what happens after you start your healing process, you get sober, and then you do need to find a job. So
Absolutely.
The stakeholders are going to have to take a risk on people, understand that they need an opportunity too, and then be able to afford to live in the county and actually help rebuild this county. So
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Rawls, for those words. And, let me just piggyback on that. We have no transitional housing,
Right.
basically, in this county for anybody, not just folks who are coming out of drug court, but if you're coming out of incarceration or, if you're coming out of an abusive relationship, we've got a few, houses with Lee Connolly, and they're a wonderful partner for everybody, but they can't house everybody. So we have no transitional housing. We don't even have a transitional program really to, support people that are trying to integrate back into the society. I have to say we've got a lot of employers in Putnam County who have really been willing to step forward and take a chance on someone. Some of our folks have never held a job. They don't have any of the tools. We try to teach all of that. We try to teach money management. I like to call it the whole person approach, to trying to help someone resolve their life. But every one of them will tell you, if they ask you, what is the word that I give them from the get-go? It's honesty. Honesty with them, honesty with everybody else. And so when they're honest with an employer about their obligations to drug court, most employers are very receptive to that. The ones who aren't, that's not the right place for our folks, because they're not going to get the support that they need from that employment side. But I fully support this commission and this county's drive to move forward with housing and jobs. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Pickens. Thanks for letting us go first. I appreciate it. All right, we're going to scoot back to court. Y'all have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Judge Morris, and all the drug court graduates, and Mr. Smith for your comments. Mr. Gerald, I'm going to hold you off one more time. Is that okay? Because I don't think this recognition is going to take that long. I do want to recognize State Representative Bobby Payne is in the audience today, and over to his left is former State Legislator Joe Pickens, current president of St. Johns River State College. Also, we have Jim and Shirley Griffin from Pomona Park. Jim's on the town council. Ms. Shirley Griffin is the chairman of the Better Place Plan Oversight Committee. We have Mayor Brett Peterson from Crescent City here, and also Jim Bush from Florida Power and Light. Have I missed anybody? At this time, I'd like to ask State Representative Payne, President Pickens, Mayor Peterson, Susan Chumley, and Kelvin Hare, and Marianne Braddock come forward for just a recognition of the Crescent City Rotary Club. As you know, last month we went to Tallahassee for Rural Days that Representative Payne had put together, so I'm going to ask him to speak just a little bit about that, and we're going to recognize 3 of the Rotary Club members who played such a big part in the success of Rural Days. As I said, Rural Days was last month, and it was a brainchild of Bobby Payne and some others. And just to go up and group with some of the other counties, I believe it was Bradford, Union, Keystone Heights, to go up and showcase, and Baker County, showcase rural counties. And it was really a success. So I want to ask Representative Payne just to talk a little bit about it, and then our President Joe Pickens to talk about next year. And then I have a certificate that I'd like to present to the members of the club.
Thank you, Chair Pickens. Just quickly, thank the County Commission for recognizing the Rotary Club of Crescent City for their hard work for this. It was a vision that I had over a year ago and spoke to several members in the community, one being President Pickens, and he embraced it right off the bat, as well as speaking to others in the district, other county commissions, as well as chambers of commerce. And they took the ball and ran with it. We made some arrangements in Tallahassee, and I'll tell you that it was a huge success. We had members of the cabinet show up, CFO Petronas, Attorney General Ashley Moody, Nikki Freed, our Commissioner of Agriculture, called me that morning and said she would be there, but for the fact she was in Miami. And so it was a great day, even to the thought that after the event, folks in the Capitol were talking about, when are you doing it again? We're ready for some more hush puppies. And even the staff that serves members lunch were pleased because they had a different meal that day of a fish and hush puppies and other items that were offered. Bradford County had strawberry shortcake. So our goal there, and the goal and the objective of Rural County Days, is to bring greater visibility to rural counties throughout the state. I had 10 colleagues there the night of the reception, Senator Perry, and as well as other representatives that said it was a great idea. They're anxious to be involved next year so that we put rural counties back on the map with greater attention to the needs of rural counties throughout the state. We're often overlooked, often outvoted by the density of South Florida, but I think rural counties really showcased that day and will continue to showcase. I often say this, and you may have heard it before, that how do you get to an urban area? You have to drive through a rural area. So thank you so much. Thank you to the Crescent City Rotary Club and all of those participants and sponsors that were there this year. It was a great event. We're looking forward to next year. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the opportunity. And first of all, my biggest regret is that I have to tell you that I heard it was a wonderful event, because this day coincided with our board meeting day, and so while I was there the night before, I wasn't there to see what obviously happened, but I saw pictures. And I can tell you that one of the things that was most noticed by the folks in Tallahassee were county commissioners, all 5 of you, and your wives, working together to make this happen, along with obviously everything, all the planning that occurred leading up to it. And so let me just say that you made a significant impact on the Tallahassee community, all 5 of you and your spouses who were there, by being there and working together all day long. And I understand, again, I heard it was hot and it was a long day. So thank you for that, and certainly for all the people that made everything happen ahead of time so that some could show up and do the hard work. There a lot of planning went into it. I'm proud to say that it was your Putnam County Chamber of Commerce that Bobby Payne came to try to organize this event. And one of the great joys of being the former representative is to watch somebody come behind you and do a whole lot better job than you did. And certainly Bobby Payne is doing that. I could have thought of this, and I could have organized this, and I didn't think of it, and I didn't do it, but Bobby Payne did. And so I felt it was important as the then chairman of the board of the chamber to do the best I could to make this be successful. Thank you to Commissioner Goddard especially, and Commissioner Harvey, who got in early, and Buddy attended a couple of the organizational meetings. And I know that the chamber, and I was asked by Dana and our current chair, Steve Overturf, who is actually, he's presiding over a funeral right now, and that's why Bobby Payne had to leave, because he's attending that funeral, to say thank you very much for everything that y'all did to make this an incredibly special event in year 1. It was an unmitigated success, so much so that next year's date has already been chosen, hasn't been approved, but it's been chosen for January the 16th, which is the first week of session. What the organizing group that met yesterday, Wayne McLean attended that meeting on behalf of the chamber, is that they've decided that all of the chambers of commerce will now get together from each participating county and be the organizing groups from each county. I was a member of the Rural County Coalition when I was in the legislature, and my recollection is that we had 39 members. So more than half of the counties in the state were represented by the Rural County Coalition, but only about 22% of the voters, as Representative Payne alluded to. It is my expectation that within just a couple of years, all 37 or 39 rural counties that are still considered rural will be a part of this. And you can know that you were the county commission and the county commissioners that started this. I expect that without even knowing it, you issued a challenge to all the other county commissions and all the other rural counties to come and do what y'all have done, and to set the example in their county that you set for our county. So for each one of you, I'm greatly indebted to you for you making it the event that it is. Next year it's going to be a two-day event. Those of you that know Chris Doolin know that he never misses an opportunity to talk about rural county issues. And so day 1 is going to be a day on the Hill where commissioners and regulars and citizens alike, regular citizens like me, attend meetings with our legislators and meet with leadership, and then have a reception that night, and then the next day, as you saw, which really for all the folks that work behind the scenes who appreciate very much an event like this. And so on behalf of the chamber, and as your former legislator, thank you to each one of you for making this an incredibly wonderful event, and something that, as you heard, people are already looking forward to next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank Administrator Suggs for his part in Rural Days. He was a great help. I knew when they started planning the Rural Days, I spoke with Kelvin Hare to see if maybe the Rotary Club might want to cook a few fish dinners. And Kelvin said we could probably make that happen. Well, a few fish dinners started, and it turned into that we were the main food supplier, the only food that was going to be there other than strawberry shortcake. But I knew with Kelvin involved, and he got Mary Ann Braddock involved, and then Susan, you came in, and So I knew with this team that we'd get it done. There was so much planning and things that were put together by Kelvin and Mary Ann to bring our large cooker up to Tallahassee and get everything prepared. So what happened was we were supposed to prepare 600 dinners, and by the end of the day, we had cooked 950 dinners that we served. So I just want to thank y'all for your support of the Rotary Club, of Rural Days, and on behalf of the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners, I'd like to give you this certificate of appreciation presented to the Crescent City Rotary Club in recognition of the generous contribution of time and valuable assistance at the inaugural Rural County Days in Tallahassee and the enduring dedication to service and community. I'm honored to present this to y'all. Thank you. I'm going to give this to Mary Ann Braddock. She keeps all of our items like this, and she's our historian, archivist, and secretary. So thank you so much. And I'd like to get a picture if we could. Would y'all like to say anything?
Well, I would just like to thank, I also would like to thank the county commission and their wives. We all know it was, as they said, a hot day. And I will say, wouldn't happen without y'all's support and help too. That, we worked well together since it's a group sort of hadn't worked together, but it acted like we'd worked for years together. So I would like to thank y'all for y'all's support and y'all's part in that as well.
Mr. Chairman, I just have to piggyback a little on that. Yeah, we helped him pick up some things and drop some baskets and do some stuff like that, but he had to show us how to do every single bit of it, so we appreciate him too.
And Liam, don't forget Liam. Come on. Oh, you good? Laura, can you see me?
I can see you all.
Good. Congratulations. Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, watching Commissioner Goddard do 950 meals of coleslaw, he was a machine that day, folks. So if you ever need coleslaw, Commissioner Goddard is your man, I'm telling you right now.
President Pickens would like to say just a few words about drug court, and then Mr. Gerald will call you up right after, okay?
I noticed that your bailiff is also on my board of trustees. I'd hate to be arrested by my own trustee. So thank you for this opportunity of a moment of personal privilege. I just wanted to recommend a drug court graduation to you. Our graduations are really fulfilling to attend, but our GED graduations are even more so because of the hurdles that people overcame by and large to get their GED, and the drug court graduation is even more moving. So I spoke at one when I was in the legislature, and I regret that I haven't been back, but I highly recommend that you go to at least one so you'll understand the feeling that comes from these people who have overcome so much and have accomplished so much. I wanted to take this opportunity to remind the clerk that although we're St. John's River State College, you've heard me say a lot of times we'll always be the community's college. Well, one of the things that we do, which is unique in Florida, frankly, is that we have the GED program in Putnam County rather than the school district. So I wanted to remind the clerk that every graduate of drug court is eligible for a presidential waiver of the application fee if they have a GED or a high school diploma, so that they can start taking courses at St. John's in order to take the next step that they need to take after what they've accomplished through drug court. We also help them fill out the FAFSA, the financial aid form, to make sure that if they're eligible for financial aid to go to school, that they can do so. If they don't have a high school diploma or a GED, we waive or provide a scholarship for the $30 application fee that the legislature requires be paid. And so we pay it for them. So I wanted to remind, and I will certainly reach back out to the judge, But we're trying to do our part to help these young men, and not always young, men and women who have worked so hard to change their lives around by being there for them as their state college. So thank you for that opportunity, Commissioner Pickens.
Okay, thank you, President Pickens. Okay, we'll move down to item E. I'll ask Mr. Gerald Donnelly with the VFW Post 3349 Commander for recognition of the Paramedic of the Year Award, Firefighter of the Year Award, and Deputy of the Year.
Thank you, Commissioners, for letting us present these awards to our outstanding first responders this year. This is our third year that we've done this. The first 2 years, we had the EMT, and the second year, we had the Fireman of the Year for the state of Florida for the VFW. I guess they won't give it to me 3 years in a row. So anyway, we thought we had a good shot with the sheriff this year. We were hoping to get the Officer of the Year award, but we didn't win it. But I do want to congratulate Sheriff Jones, Captain Tina Hitchcock, and Fireman Samuel Schaffner, I think is his last name. I told Mr. Chief Romney that I would blow that one, and I sure did. But anyway, if these three people would come forward along with Colonel Wells and Chief Romney, we would like to present our awards to these three outstanding first responders. And we want to thank all the first responders of Putnam County for the job they do, for the work they put in, and for the time they spent to help the community in the service of Putnam County. Without further ado, we will read the awards to these three outstanding people. Jerry, do you have the awards? Would you read them?
Our first award will go to Putnam County Medic of the Year, 2018, presented to Captain Tina Hitchcock in special recognition of your hard work and dedication to the citizens of Putnam County. The Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, Post 3349, I'd like to present to you this award for 2019. Our next award is for the Firefighter of the Year of 2018, presented to Samuel Schaller in special recognition of your hard work and dedication to the citizens of Putnam County, the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, Post 3349. Would like to present this to you, 2019. Our third award for Law Enforcement Officer of the Year in 2018, presented to Master Deputy Dennis Jones in special recognition of your hard work and dedication to the citizens of Putnam County, the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, Post 3349. We'll happily give you this. Where?
Thank you again. Chief Romney, would you like to say a few words? And then we'll go to Colonel Wells.
We just appreciate the VFW and all our citizens that recognize our fine, hardworking men and women. Captain Hitchcock and Sam, by the way, Sam didn't realize until first thing this morning he was getting anything. He thought he had to come have a speech, so he's a little shy this morning. But nonetheless, I want to personally thank Commander Donnelly and his folks for everything they do for us and the citizens each and every year. And like he said, this is the third year they've done this, and it's a very special recognition, and we certainly appreciate it.
Thank you, Commander, and your team for doing this. It's certainly very meaningful to our first responders to receive this recognition they so deserve. Actually, to share a little bit of information with you, is that Captain Hitchcock is also a law enforcement officer, and she's a reserve deputy sheriff with the sheriff's office attached to our SWAT team as our lead SWAT medic. So everywhere our SWAT team goes, as yesterday in an 8-hour standoff, Tina is right there with them for that, any type of emergency medical need that may arise out of those situations. So we certainly appreciate Tina as well. Of course, those of y'all that know me to any extent know how I feel about Master Deputy Jones. He is just, he exemplifies all the characteristics that we look for in law enforcement officers, not only his professionalism, his expertise, but also his huge heart and the compassion that he has for the people of Putnam County. So once again, congratulations to all of our first responders, and thank you for all that you do every day for the citizens of our county. Yeah.
Tina, do you want to have a few words? And Sam? Is that it? No? You don't have to be bashful. Well, Commissioners, we thank you for your time, for the outstanding awards this morning to these fine, outstanding first responders, and we look forward to doing this again next year. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Donnelly, and
Can we get a picture with the Commissioner?
Yeah, we'll get a picture. Yeah, and thank you, first responders, and Officer Jones, and thank you for what you do, your dedication to Putnam County and the citizens of Putnam County. So thank you very much. Commissioner Rawls?
I don't think this can be said enough, especially to our first responders, how much time you do dedicate to your job, and especially in Putnam County. We know it's very difficult. We're working on getting pays elevated so you can start retaining some of the employees and not having such a large turnover, but we really do appreciate the dedication that you guys exemplify, because that's one thing that our county needs for us to be able to start growing going forward. So thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, if you're just going to come forward, we'll get a picture.
Sure. All right, y'all get close now. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for those recognitions, Mr. Donnelly and the VFW post. We'll move up to recognitions. We'll move to item A, and I'll ask Crystal Macasio to come forward for recognition of the 4-H livestock judging team. If this group looks familiar, it's because they've been in front of us many times, and they're fresh off I guess a state championship. Is that correct? So, Crystal, welcome.
That is correct. Yes, I had the pleasure of introducing them to everybody last time, and they won 3rd place at the state and were able to represent us at the American Royal and did so very well. And so, yes, today I have the distinct pleasure of introducing the top 4-H livestock judging team for the state of Florida. So if they would please join me. They did. They brought home the big trophy for us. And not only did they win, but they won by almost 100 points, which is almost unheard of. These kids have excelled in such a way, and this is a very, very competitive program that they go through. And there are kids, like I said, across the state and that are going out and competing, and it's amazing what they do. They never fail to impress us, and so they have risen even higher than we ever could have expected. and we are grateful for that. And I'm actually going to let them tell you, because these are our young leaders of today, and they speak incredibly well, and that's a huge part of the program that they have to speak, and I'm going to let them explain that a little bit. So I'm going to give you some of an idea of what they placed. It is separated into divisions. So we're going to start with Mr. Jarrett Kelly, and he placed 5th overall in the sheep and goat division and was the 4th high individual. So let's give him a round of applause, and he's going to come and tell us a little bit about livestock.
So first off, I'd like to thank y'all for y'all's help and support in the years past. And next, I was asked to tell y'all exactly what livestock judging is. And I know some of y'all may know, but I'll kind of refresh you on it. So we come to these contests, and we are given sets of animals. All in each class is 4 animals, whether it's sheep, goats, whatever it is, cattle. You come in and you judge a class, and not only do you have to place it in a matter of 15 minutes at most, but in a lot of cases also you have to provide oral reasonings to the judges to explain why you placed them that way, and each individual describe down to a T, and if you lie to them, they'll count you down. So that's a big part of it. And also you have questions classes, and the big thing about it is you're not just learning how to judge livestock and become a better evaluator, but you're learning how to think comprehensively, and not only that, but quickly, and then also be able to prepare to reason why you placed them that way and be able to publicly speak to a panel of judges so they understand what your point is and why you're getting across. So, of course, it's a big deal, and I really appreciate that, and it's easy to see the big differences in leaps and bounds we've grown since we started doing livestock judging, and be able to tell the differences in our public speaking abilities and our overall reasoning. And I believe it's a great program, and I absolutely love it. And I really appreciate y'all's help in the past so far, and I really am proud of our accomplishments as a team this past year. Thank y'all.
Next, I'd like to introduce Miss Emily Lands. She has a long list. So she was 2nd in the swine division, 3rd in cattle, 2nd in sheep and goats, 3rd in reasons and questions, and the 2nd high individual for the state. Emily?
Again, I'd like to say thank y'all for the time and support, but I've been asked to talk about what exactly the state contest was comprised of. There were 8 classes of species. It could be cattle, goats, sheep, hogs, whatever. Then we had 3 of those classes we had to give reasons on. So as Jarrett said, we went in,
As his family calls him, right?
we went in front of a few judges and gave our reasonings for how we placed that class, and then 2 other classes we had to complete questions on. Yeah.
Next, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Dathan Guthrie, who was 4th in oral reasons and questions, 1st in sheep and goats, and 5th high individual for the contest.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about oral reasons. Oral reasons is pretty much backing up the way that we place a class. Let's say I place class 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to persuade you to place the class the way I did through oral reasons. We're critical thinking, but we're also gaining public speaking abilities that pretty much will help us out in the long run. And I have been asked to give an example of one of those oral sets. So, Mr. Harvey, I'd like to give the set to you. Do you want me to step up there or stay right here?
Wherever you're comfortable, sir.
There they can hear you.
Okay. I like the breeding gilts 2, 4, 1, 3, and as I evaluate the class, it's the blue hip long tail gilt that I'll go ahead and use start with. She's elevated in her chest and falls back to have the most dimension and drop of flank and even still. She's the one with the most authority up high and comfort and knees off both sides to where I'll call her the hardest one to make and use her win. Now there's no doubt the 9-1 gilt is another powerfully made, sappy bellied one. It's just comparisons that sort the two. She's the plainer constructed, sloppier made one who just needs to be more refined all the way through. But nevertheless, in my middle pair of the 2 potential litter mates, I'll side with the overall brood style basics and run it 4-1. She comes at me stout scold, probably the partner blades, and falls back to be bolder in the turn to her rear rib and flank and ties us in to a heavier muscled, more expressive hand which allows her to have more width and dimension at the ground, all while stepping down on a much larger circumference, foot, and bone. Now, yeah, sure, that blue masked, white bodied gilt is stylish in her overall makeup and freely moving. It's just that the pounds lighter gilt just needs more to her. But you know what? She's the one with more positives on bottom and paints you a prettier silhouette. She's tucked up in her chest, parallel in her lines, and gets out with more reach and range of motion out of her hip and hind leg. Now, I understand, but I also have to appreciate that the Hampelperian gilt is stout-skulled and strong-topped. It's just that she's the narrowest made, shallowest body, flattest sided one, and if it's not her look that puts her last, hits her overall lack of carcass merit that should. Thank you.
By the way, he was speaking English.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I'm glad he's not on the board.
Yes, they all do an outstanding job. And at any of the contests that they have gone to, they've brought some of their ribbons and things with them since our last visit. And so any of them at any given time find themselves at the top of that leaderboard, and they go back and forth. So I'm glad that you mentioned it's kind of like a family, because it truly is. They spend loads of many hours on the road and working together as a team, and it's impressive. Our last team member is Clayton Brahman, who is our 7th high individual for the team. So every one of our team members placed in the top 10, which, like I said, is pretty outstanding. Clayton.
So I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about what our schedule looks like coming up for the next year. So the first event we have is we're traveling again to Oklahoma for the Big 3. This is going to be 3 days of nothing but livestock judging. On the first day, we're going to judge cattle all day. The second day will be hogs, and the third day we'll judge sheep and goats. This is one of the world's largest livestock judging contests with about 1,600 participants. So we're hoping to go there and compete and do well, just as we did last year. This same month, we're going to travel to a training camp in Tennessee. This training camp only allows 25 participants, so we were super grateful to get a spot. This 25 participants allows us to have one-on-one training with the very successful Tennessee college team. In October, we get super busy with our schedule. We're going to travel and hit the Purdue Invitational, and that same weekend, we're also going to go to the Stockman in Indiana. Both of these contests, we're going to have 10 classes of cattle and other species. We're going to have about 3 sets of oral reasons and 2 sets of questions. Then, we're also going to go to the Georgia Nationals in this month. This contest normally holds about 10 classes and 4 sets of oral reasons. This is all in preparation for the big contest, the North American International Livestock Exposition. This is the contest that we were so grateful to win the opportunity to by placing first in the state. This contest is going to be a big one. We're going to have 12 classes and 6 sets of oral reasons, and we have the potential to also have 2 sets of questions. So this is the contest that we're trying to prepare for and raise money for, and the contest that we're super excited to represent our county in the state of Florida at. Thank you.
I want to make it a point to mention this doesn't happen without loads of support. Their coach, Jerry Mullins, was unable to be here today. He had a last-minute work commitment that came up, but the time and effort that he puts in to these kids and putting it together, and definitely want to mention the co-coach and lovingly called the team mom, Miss Mandy Guthrie, for all that she does as well. If we could give them a round of applause. I also want to mention this is the last time you will see this team together, because as they won the state contest, they are no longer eligible to compete because they are the cream of the crop for the state, and they do not allow them to compete again. So we definitely want to give them their time here for all of their efforts and work that they've done and the substantial road that they have ahead of them, and want to thank the community for all the support they gave them last year, and for all of you coming to give your time and support to get them there. And they look forward to another great year and an opportunity to do that as well. And so with that said, let's give them another round of applause and thank them for all that they've done. We would like to get a photo as well, please.
I just want to thank everybody, Mandy, for your support and what you young people are doing. Hopefully y'all can hear me. You'll take these skills through the rest of your life, and it's just amazing what y'all have accomplished. Crystal asked them to bring some of their awards, and when I just saw a trophy, then I saw the rest of it. They needed a wheelbarrow to bring it in here. So, but anyway, what I want to do, and you already have a Putnam County pin, but I'm going to give you another one. So I'm going to give everybody a Putnam County pin, and hopefully you'll wear this proudly when you represent Putnam County.
I wish I could have spoke that good when I was their age. Right? Gosh.
And I want to recognize a proud papa, proud father in the back, Joe Guthrie. You'll stand up. Thanks, man.
Actually, if you don't mind, we have quite a few parents here. If they would stand, they give up family vacations and countless hours and helping fundraise. And like I said, this takes a substantial amount of money to get these kids to where they need to go to represent us and be competitive. So if they would please stand, all of those parents that make this possible.
I think I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize Sharon Train with UF and IFAS. Sharon, I know you're a big supporter of these young people and all the programs for agriculture in our county. So thank you very much. Okay.
I want to say one quick thing, especially because this is the last time you'll see this team together in this capacity. 3 of them do get to continue judging livestock, but not on this particular team under the 4-H title. These 4 represent our 3 high schools and our college. Jared is a full-time college student, dual enrolled. Emily and Dathan represent Palaca High School, and Clayton comes from QI Roberts. The tremendous support from our school system, because the 4-H program is not in the schools technically, but the support that they give these kids and all of the traveling that they do, allowing them to make up their schoolwork especially, we are just so completely grateful for that.
Good job. Mr. Chairman, if I might. Dathan, one thing that wasn't said about him was he also had the Grand Champion Hog, correct? Right. So these guys do keep a busy schedule, and this is the 3rd year that I've had the privilege of being able to see you guys together, and I think you're going to be coming to breakfast tomorrow morning to see us at Rotary. I personally am very proud of what y'all have done, especially you, Mandy. You've been working at this for a long time, and can't say enough. Your parents have got to be so proud of you and what you've done. You absolutely exemplify the best parts of Putnam County. What was not mentioned a second ago, and I think I know the answer because I heard it last night at a meeting, was how many people participated in the competition in Florida that they won?
Oh, I'd have to look up the exact numbers, but I believe there was, what, 16 teams?
16 4-H teams and 20 FFA teams, which, just want to throw that in there, they beat the FFA side of the contest as well. Our kids are in 4-H and FFA. I say that very lovingly, but their scores blew everybody out of the water.
Is it fair to say a couple hundred?
People? Yes.
Yeah.
Four people per team. So 20 FFA teams and I think 16 county teams.
Right. You guys have absolutely every reason to be proud and hold your head up.
Okay, let me, okay, somebody has to.
Bring up the parents too, they're trying to get it.
Hold on.
They brought nothing. Ready? Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
Okay, next we'll move to ask Miss Lisa Suarez to come forward. Animal Control Supervisor, to recognize Mr. Christopher Pinnick.
Good morning. I'm here on behalf of Putnam County Animal Control. Thanks to Christopher, we were able to attend our first Global Pet Expo this year. And due to his generosity, not only were we able to attend it for the first time, it gave us an opportunity for continuing education, but he also was very generous in donating well over $10,000, $20,000 worth of items to animal control, where it comes with food, cat towers. We had well over 36 cat towers, huge, that our pets are not only using, but are still enjoying at this time. So on behalf of Putnam County, we would like to thank Christopher Pinnick for his generosity and continued support for Putnam County Animal Control.
I say the pleasure's mine, thank you so much, but the true kudos goes to you and your staff. You have an amazing team. I don't know if the animal industry or the Humane Society section is so overwhelming and it's so heartbreaking, and to see you have a facility here that is top-notch clean, and if you find some of the facilities in the state of Florida, you're nowhere near it. The staff you have is great. They have the dedication. I'm so glad you could attend. It helps. I don't know if you know about the Global Pet Expo, but it is I was told, one of the top 5 expos at the Orlando Convention Center. And if you know how large that convention center is, and it's one of the top 5, it's huge. And I don't think you believe me when I said wear tennis shoes. Anybody that is anybody in the pet industry attends this conference for vendors to purchase and to see the new wares. As a nonprofit and as a government agency, that they would like to donate, but when they get so many requests, they don't know who they're talking to and if it's legitimate and how it's really going to be going. When Lisa was able to attend and we were able to say, this is where it's going, it's 2 hours down the road, and this is what the animals that they help and they save, it makes the ability for the vice presidents, the CEOs, and the regional managers that are there, the top dogs, to say, I know who she is. So when she calls and says, I need 50 pounds of dog food or 50 tons, that they're going to give it to you or make accommodations for you. So again, thank you so much. And again, kudos to your staff, because what you see every day is heartbreaking. And it was a pleasure for my wife and I to be able to help you, and you're more than welcome to continue to attend and to assist. And I encourage all of you and anybody to just, if you have old things that you could donate to the shelter, fans and stuff like that. And I know budget is a huge issue, and then there's so many worthy causes out there, but you could just find a few dollars, especially for the staff to attend and go. It's a free conference to go to, but you just have to have the time to go in there. But you can definitely find a lot of usefulness for that, just for ongoing. So I appreciate your help. Thank you so much, and thank you for the honor. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm the small one in the crowd.
And again, during this Pet Expo, we learned quite a bit. We did a lot of networking, and to this day, we're still receiving a lot of samples from all these different vendors that are very useful at the shelter. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, Commissioners, we will move down to Special Recognition D. Jimmy and Vonda Miller, 40 years of raising blueberries in Interlochen. I'll ask Mr. Jimmy Miller to come forward. Ms. Vonda could not be here today, but ask his son-in-law, Mr. Tim Campbell, to come forward. And also Sharon Treen, if you'd come forward. I'm going to have Commissioner Goddard read a little history of the Miller Blueberry Farm, and then after that, Ms. Sharon Treen will make I'll make a presentation of a certificate, and then Sharon Treen will make an award of a certificate from the University of Florida. So Commissioner Goddard?
Okay. Bear with me. Now, these people are great people. I've gotten to know them over the years. Good Putnam County people. This is a long list. 40 years ago, blueberry growers Jimmy and Vonda Miller decided to take a chance on their future when they planted their first blueberry bush. This leap of faith would change the course of their lives, and their farm would eventually become the largest and now oldest commercial blueberry farm in the state. Their venture began in 1979 when the couple inherited property from Jimmy's family in Interlochen, located in the south central region of Putnam County. All we have to worry about are cedar wax rings. Vonda clearly remembers her husband's enthusiastic words like it was just yesterday. We wanted to do something with the property, Jimmy said. We needed to make good use of the different varieties. Miller Blueberry Plantation and Plant Nursery is the definition of family-owned and operated, and the Miller's children all have a role in the operation. The farm also operates a plant nursery, tissue culture lab, packing house, and seasonal U-pick. Daughter Katie oversees the plant nursery and tissue culture lab. Daughter Summer is the office manager and bookkeeper, and her husband Tim is the farm manager. Jimmy explained that the typical growing season is 6 weeks long. The Millers utilize mechanical harvesters to pick the berries, as well as farm employees who pick by hand. As pioneer Florida blueberry growers, the Miller family has maintained their operation at the height of innovation. The family uses best management practices to keep their farm sustainable for future generations. We have been using drip irrigation for years, Jimmy said. This method helps us to reduce water evaporation and produce disease-tolerant plants. The Millers also installed soil moisture sensors to determine out of it. The property, nearly 300 acres of lush landscape with Gum Creek running through its center, has been producing sweet blueberries since that first bush was planted 40 years ago. The University of Florida's blueberry breeding program was in its infancy when the Millers began their operation, and Jimmy Vonda took advantage of an opportunity to grow blueberries, a relatively new concept at the time. Crop water use information and help monitor weather data pertinent to their farm. I didn't quite understand that, but.
Two sentences got mixed up.
Okay. The Millers Plant Nursery is supported by their tissue culture lab. The lab has the capability of propagating blueberry plants at a fast rate for wholesale marketing to other growers. In the packing house, a produce tract is used for trackability. This system allows the Millers to know which part of the field a blueberry came from. In the event that a problem arises, we can isolate that particular part of the field instead of the whole farm. That's what Vonda explained. Although cultural practices have changed over the course of 40 years, the Millers' way of picking and packing has not. University researchers continue to work with the Millers and grow trial plots on their farm. We evaluate the plants that are grown and help the university make a selection on which are the best varieties for Florida, Jimmy said. Today, more than 140 acres of blueberries grow on their grounds, all of which have been planted by hands. Chickadee, Snow Chaser, Kestrel, and Prima Donna are some of the Miller blueberries that have been picked and packed since day one. We used to pack at the barn under the sunshine using pint pulp cups and rubber bands, said Jimmy. Today, the operation has a state-of-the-art packing facility to get the job done more efficiently. The farms you pick will open on April 12th and is expected to attract visitors from all over the state. The farm contributes to the local economy and is a sweet spot in the community. Miller blueberries are sold under the Nutri-Ripe label and can be found throughout the Southeast. It's a wonderful way to make a living, Jimmy said, and it is what the Lord has called us to do.
See if I can read this. It's my honor to present this large certificate. We actually did this last Saturday. The Millers had a celebration at their farm. There's probably a couple hundred people there, people from the Florida Department of Agriculture, blueberry associations, and things like that, and they served us a great meal. A lot of recognition to them. But on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, congratulations to Jimmy and Vonda Miller. And if you can see, there is a little sticker there because we misspelled Vonda, and we had to get us a sticker and put that on there, but it'll be something to remember it by. Miller Blueberry Plantation and Nursery for 40 years of bringing healthy product and economic vitality to Putnam County, and we thank you so much. Ms. Sharon?
So Jimmy, I know on Saturday at your celebration, there were some researchers and professors from the University of Florida that recognized you, but we wanted to, on behalf of the UF-IFAS Putnam County Extension Office, thank you for you and your family for being such a leader in agriculture and a supporter of Extension. We do consider you part of our Extension family. As Commissioner Goddard said, they have been instrumental in the UF blueberry breeding program, and many of the latest cultivars that are used in Florida have been trialed right here in Putnam County. He has hosted scholars from all over the world at his farm to learn about his blueberry process. He has collaborated with our UF-IFAS Research Center in Hastings, and he's also been a host for our 4-H Youth Blueberry Project. Every year they take a field trip out to his farm, and he and his family have been gracious hosts for that. And so on behalf of the University of Florida, Putnam County Extension, I'll get those in a minute. We just want to thank you and your family for your continued support, and we look forward to working with you for a long time to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a lot of effort that goes in farming. I've seen a lot of blueberries in the last 40 years, I can tell you that. And I want to thank my family. I couldn't do it without them. And all the support we get from the University of Florida and IFAS and the county. And thank you so much for this award, and we appreciate it. And I thank my God that I've been able to do this all these years. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I know Commissioner Harvey will have a comment, but before he does, I want to present y'all with some Putnam County pins, if you'll wear those proudly when you go off to some of your events and when you host some of your events. And thank you so much. So, Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, Saturday, you and I were able to get to this event, and it was just a wonderful thing. And I want to say what really resonated with me was how much you love the Lord and how much you depended upon the Lord. And the other thing that really resonated is when you have a competitor, okay? And I'm going to say this about my life. There was people who invested in me to get me where I was at today. And you invested in a gentleman named Chance Clay who stood up and said, yeah, we compete, but you helped him, and you helped him get started. And now you don't take the phone calls as much as you had to from him when he started. But that's what we're all about. We're all about investing in that next generation. And Mr. Miller and Tim Campbell, let me say, with you and your families, you've invested in not just our local people, but throughout the world in helping this world be a better place. So I just want to say, I was moved with that. And for someone to stand up and say, if it wasn't for you, they wouldn't be where they're at. I can say the same thing for people in this community. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been where I'm at. Someone took a chance on me, and thank you for taking that chance. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, Commissioner Ross?
on behalf of the Boston Community Association, I'd also like to extend our thanks to you for your support of the Blueberry Festival. This year they had the best year they've had, and the money that they raise is used to do good in the community. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. And it was definitely evident when people started speaking about the Millers of how much they were involved in the community, involved in their church. They also have celebrated 40 years of marriage this year also. So a lot of commitment, and so it was a really good event. And thank you so much, and thank you for the comments. And we'd love to get a picture. Okay? Right.
Shondell found it. And Mr. Chairman, Shondell Goddard actually found the misspelled words, so she's, and Commissioner Goddard fixed it.
Okay.
And it was my fault, so, right, Laura?
You always count on Shondell. Okay, as we've been skipping around a little bit, I'm going to skip down to Mr. David Parsons. You probably want to go back to work. So he's with the PLACA Young Professionals, and I've asked him to come forward to just to update us a little bit on the upcoming Blue Crab Festival. So,
I've actually got a commercial I would like to show you all, if that's okay.
Okay.
Can I use this? Is that?
Yes, I'm assuming so.
Okay.
Are you any kin to anybody up here?
No, I don't think so. Nobody up here. Yes, this is my wife over
I
here.
know.
I was going to get you an opportunity to say hello or I love you.
She got me on the agenda. I said, can't you put me to the top? I want to go first to be done.
Oh.
Everybody wanted to go to the top today.
Yeah, I
They
know.
really did,
So thank you for having me today. We are getting close. We've got just over a week, and we're ready. So we've kind of started a bigger advertising campaign. Channel 4's been real good with us. We've got a volunteer that's one of the young professionals in town that she actually works for them, and she's been helping us as greatly. So we've kind of boosted that a little, and they'll actually start running this commercial here. Should start this week.
It's back. This Memorial Day weekend, the Blue Crab Festival in Palatka. Enjoy tons of food trucks, arts and crafts, Gatorland ski show, fireworks, carnival rides, delicious blue crab plates, and much, much more. Live music all weekend featuring the band Be Easy, Happy Petty, Big Engine, and many more. Free admission and parking for all, so don't miss out. The Blue Crab Festival in Palatka. For more information, visit bluecrabfestivalpalatka.com.
So they did help us, and they got us the Blue Crab Festival Palaca.com. So we kind of have a website there. It's got our schedule of our bands on it. So I think we've got a great selection. Our main stage will have about 20 bands. It's a variety of music, so it kind of touches every group. We've also got an acoustic tent that's off down a little ways towards the boat ramp. It's got basically all local talent. Anybody that kind of plays around town, a lot of people know, so that way it gives us the local variety as well. We've got food trucks. They're real high quality trucks. It's a little less pricey than some of the tents that we've seen in the past. So their food's real high quality. We've seen them at a few events. Green Cove Springs hosts a couple of them, and then we've also got a local Caribbean 450. They'll be there as well with their truck. So we've got lots of different local flavor. And then my most excited piece, the Gatorland Ski Show. They used to ski here. We've been looking through some old memorabilia, and they were, ages ago they were here. They came and they did it regularly. So they'll be there on Sunday. They've got two shows, 12:15 and 2. And I met with them Saturday, and they took me on a boat ride of what their route would be while they're up there. So it'll be really cool. They've got 3 different boats they use, and there's always something happening in front of the audience. So we're real excited about that. But we do want to thank
new skiers, or is it the same old?
It's some of them, a little of both. So the girl that I met with, she was actually she said the last time she skied she was 10. So. And she skied in the show here, so there's a little bit of both. But we do want to thank you. The Tourist Development Council had given us some money, and then you guys with the Chamber of Commerce had given us the money. So that's been able to help us, with Channel 4, and then also with the insurance for the event, everything like that. So it's been a big help. Futch's Tractor Depot and Boat Depot, and then as well as Beck have been our major sponsors. Continental Building Supply, and then Seminole Electric. So we've gotten quite a few. I think we were up to maybe 15 donors total, giving us little amounts, and then those were our major sponsors. So we really appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay. Thank you so much for the update, and I really hope it goes well. I look more optimistic about festivals these days because the Catfish Festival turned out really well this year. So hopefully y'all will have a successful, and this is 3 days?
It's 3 days, Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. The American Legion will have a parade on Monday. We didn't have the staff to be able to continue that, so they stepped up and are going to have the parade, and it'll go from 9th Street all the way down to the riverfront. So that they will have it, and they'll have a little service there at the riverfront, and we should be putting out some information about that soon too.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Suggs?
Yes, sir. I just want to say how much I appreciate it as not only the county administrator, but as a former city manager for Palaca, as well as a resident of Putnam County. This event that did not happen last year was a tremendous loss for our community. It was something that had been taking place for several years. And for a group of young professionals, and I want to stress the word young professionals, to step up and do what they're doing for their community, and to host this event, to bring back those 20 to 30,000 visitors to Putnam County that may not visit here for any other particular reason other than this event. I think it's a tremendous asset for all of us here, and you all deserve tremendous recognition for stepping up and doing what you're doing. And the fact that this has the makings of a group of individuals to be able to carry this torch for a long time is very beneficial to all of us. And I just personally thank you very much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much, David. We'll move down to finish our presentations and move down to item B, proclamation for the National Law Enforcement Week. I'll ask Colonel Joe Wells, I believe, to come forward, and I've asked Commissioner Turner to read this proclamation.
Putnam County Proclamation Number 2019-37, National Law Enforcement Week and the Putnam County Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Day. Whereas the week of May 12th, 2019 through May 18th of 2019 has been designated as National Law Enforcement Week, and whereas the date, May 16th, 2019, has been designated locally as Putnam County Law Enforcement Memorial Day, and whereas Putnam County has dedicated law enforcement team, men and women serving our county under difficult, stressful, and other dangerous circumstances, and whereas law enforcement officers are our guardians of life and property, defenders of the individual's right to be free, warriors in the war against crime and dedicated to the preservation of life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness, and whereas Florida and the municipalities within Putnam County desire to honor the valor, service, and dedication of its own law enforcement officers comprised of city, town, county, and state law enforcement agencies. Now therefore be it recognized and proclaimed by the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners that the week of May 12th through May 18th, 2019 is hereby recognized as National Law Enforcement Week, and that May 16th is proclaimed Putnam County Law Enforcement Memorial Day. Be it further proclaimed that the citizens of Putnam County are urged to show their support and appreciation of our law enforcement officers who give their lives to protect and serve their communities by attending a countywide law enforcement memorial service to be held Thursday, May 16th, 2019 at 10 a.m. at the Ravine Garden State Park in Palaca. Mr. Chairman, I move this proclamation.
Second.
Okay, we've got a proper motion by Commissioner Turner, a proper second by Commissioner Rawls. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Congratulations. It's an honor to give you this proclamation.
Just briefly, thank you, Commissioner Turner, and all the commissioners and county staff for this recognition. You know, it's truly an honor to be a law enforcement officer here in Putnam County. I spent a lot of time talking with my counterparts in other counties, and especially those in larger counties in South Florida area. And they are just in awe when we speak about the amount of support that we receive from our citizens here in Putnam County, how we can count on them to work together with us as a community, and also how we have the ability to work in lockstep with our commissioners and our county staff and don't have that adversarial relationship that many of these other counties have. So let me just take an opportunity to tell all of you on this day during this Law Enforcement Memorial Month how much we appreciate that. This is the month, and then of course this particular week in Putnam County, where we do remember our comrades from across the United States that have paid the ultimate sacrifice and protection of peace in our society, and we take this week to remember them and remember their families, their children, their wives, their husbands, their mothers, fathers that they've left behind, and keep them forever in our heart and thank them forever for that ultimate sacrifice. So thank you so much, and hope to see everybody Thursday morning at 10 at Ravines.
Thank you, Colonel Wells. We'll just stay up here. Our next proclamation, I'd like to ask Quinn Romay and some of his staff to come forward. Proclamation Emergency Medical Services Week. And I've asked Commissioner Harvey to read that proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Putnam County Proclamation number 2019-38, Emergency Medical Services Week, EMS Strong. Whereas emergency medical professionals and volunteers provide medical care to victims of sudden, life-threatening injuries and illness, often under stressful conditions and in high-risk situations to save lives. And whereas Florida residents and visitors benefit daily from the knowledge, skill, and judgment of paramedics, emergency medical technicians, firefighters, educators, administrators, emergency physicians, emergency nurses, and others who encompass the emergency medical services system. And whereas emergency medical personnel must rapidly assess, manage, and effectively provide care in unpredictable situations requiring life and death judgments. And whereas Florida EMS teams unselfishly serve on the front line of health care when responding to man-made and natural disasters at a local, state, and national levels. And whereas it is critical the general public be made aware of, understand, support, and effectively use its local emergency medical service systems. And whereas recognition is due for the emergency medical system for its accomplishment and contributions to improve public welfare through healthcare, medical transportation, injury prevention, education, disaster response, homeland security, and other initiatives that reduce healthcare costs and save lives. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Putnam County Board of Commissioners in a meeting assembled on the 14th day of May 2019 that the week of May 19 through 25th, 2019 is declared Emergency Medical Services Week in Putnam County, and that all citizens are encouraged to take part in recognizing the hard work and dedicated services provided by all personnel providing emergency medical service. Mr. Chairman, I move this proclamation for approval.
I'll second it.
We've got a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey and a proper second by Commissioner Turner. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, sign. Proclamation passes. On behalf of the chair of the County Commission, I'm honored to give you this proclamation.
On behalf of our team, I want to thank you. I have some of the best in the business out there, and I've said it over and over, but the paramedics, EMTs, first responders, and I'm going to ask Colonel Wells and Alicia to come up, because a couple of facts you may not realize is we only have 8 ambulances out there 24 hours a day staffed by these men and women. But during cardiac emergencies of any serious nature, we're also, law enforcement has AEDs, and they are part of our system and part of the service to our citizens. They send deputies to those calls, and they have actually had saves. They've gotten there and applied the AEDs, and were able to resuscitate someone with the help and obviously the teamwork going on. Our dispatchers, Captain Koleski, 911, anytime during the day when you dial 911 for any reason, you're getting one of Captain Koleski's folks. And note whether it's a law enforcement issue, fire issue, EMS, or a barking dog, whatever it may be, they're on the front line with us. So I just want to say that, you know, we're very proud, we're very humbled by this, and we certainly appreciate each and every day your support and the things that the men and women, both paid and volunteer. Mr. Chapman is our chaplain, but he's also a chaplain, sorry. But he's also a volunteer with Pomona Park. So we have the volunteers, we have the paid folks, we've got law enforcement, we've got the dispatchers. It's a team effort to make this thing happen, and we certainly appreciate that.
Yeah. We really appreciate everything that they do. It takes a special person, whether it's your profession or a volunteer, to drop what you're doing to go help somebody in need, and we do appreciate it. Are there any questions or comments from the commissioners? Okay.
I'd just like to reiterate that what I said earlier, it takes, like you said, it takes a very special person to get in this type of public service, especially because it does take you away from your family for 1/3 of your life when they work these 24 and 48-hour shifts. So thank you very much for your service.
Okay. All right, thank you. Can we get a picture with everybody?
They almost had to come to my house at 3 Oh, that's heaven. Lord, you need to be taller, don't you? I saw that.
Or you can squat down. Where are we? You're up next.
I'd like to ask Miss Kathy Fisk to come up. We'll have a proclamation read by Commissioner Goddard for National Safe Boating Week. Miss Kathy?
This is proclamation number 2019-40, declaring May 18th through the 24th, 2019 is National Safe Boating Week. For nearly 100 million Americans, boating continues to be a popular recreational activity. From coast to coast and everywhere in between, people are taking to the water and enjoying time together boarding, sailing, paddling, and fishing. During National Safe Boating Week, the U.S. Coast Guard and its federal, state, and local safe boating partners encouraging all boaters to explore and enjoy America's beautiful waters responsibly. Safe boating begins with preparation. The Coast Guard estimates that human error accounts for 70% of all boating accidents, and that life jackets could prevent more than 85% of boating fatalities. Through basic boating safety procedures, carrying life-saving, emergency, distress, and communication equipment, wearing life jackets, attending safe boating courses, participating in free boat safety checks, and staying sober when navigating, we can help ensure boaters on America's coastal, inland, and offshore waters stay safe throughout the season. National Safe Boating Week is observed to bring attention to important life-saving tips for recreational boaters so that they can have a safer, more fun experience out of the water throughout the year. Whereas on average, 650 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the U.S. Approximately 76% of these are fatalities caused by drowning. And whereas the vast majority of these accidents are caused by human error or poor judgment and not the boat, equipment, or environmental factors. And whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn their life jacket. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners that the Board of Commission is in support of Safe Boating Campaign and proclaim May 18th through the 24th, 2019 as National Safe Boating Week and the start of the year-round effort to promote safe boating. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners urges all those who boat to practice safe boating habits and wear a life jacket at all times while boating. Done and ordered, proclaimed this 14th day, May 2019. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we've got a proper motion by Commissioner Goddard, a proper second by Commissioner Harvey. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Proclamation passes. Congratulations.
Hi, as you said, my name is Kathy Fisk. I am with the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. This is going on over 10 years that we've had your wonderful support. As you stated, this Memorial Day weekend is always the beginning of summer, or at least that's how everybody looks at it. So the main thing that we're trying to reiterate to everybody is safe boating begins at home. Not when you got your boat out there, not in the water, not when you're just fiddling around and have your cooler. It begins at home because last year you put your boat up and wear your life jackets. They are stuck in plastic or somewhere. So the biggest thing we're trying to reiterate to everybody is you need your life jacket. You need to make sure it's good and you need to make sure it fits. And that's for every single person on the water that you have with you, not just one person. Then you've got your equipment. You know, if you don't have your lights, you know, and you're stuck outside, or you don't have your EPIRBs or information. We try to just let everybody know that boating begins with you, and you are the responsible person, even though you were in somebody else's boat or going and having fun. It's your job to make sure you are safe on the water, that you have a life jacket that fits properly, and we just appreciate all the help that you give us and the support throughout the county to keep everybody safe for Safe Boating Week and through the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll get a picture. Any questions or comments? I have a question. I do believe the Coast Guard Auxiliary certifies vessels.
Yes.
And I didn't know if you had some upcoming events or how people would get that done to get their boat. Do they know that they're 100% in compliance?
Okay, well, I have some cards out on the table out there, and I was just informed that both boat ramps will be closed to people for the National Safe Boating Week, which is also Memorial Day weekend. So we're trying in aspect to have a booth there. The vessel exams are free. We come to your house. We have a sheet. We have information. We have booklets. It's state books and federal books can be found at your county office. You can also go online, Coast Guard Auxiliary, and then put in your address, put in the county, put in the city where you live, and they will bring it up so that you are appointed with a person in your area. Safety on the boats has a checklist. Like I said, it's in the state book and the federal book, and then there's a lot of nice to knows. But this is a free service that we provide to everybody. There is no cost except we pay our own gas. So we provide a service to you, and that is whether you just need life jackets. We do have summer programs that I'll be attending at the different libraries on how-to days, how to put your life jacket on. It teaches the kids that they are responsible as a child, as their own boater. So we try to start, my goal is children education. So we try to start getting them young, so by the time they get growing older, hopefully in the next 10 to 15 years, we are not gonna have these fatalities because it's gonna be a normal thing. You get in the boat, you go near the water, you have a life jacket. It'll just be automatic, and that's what my goal is. And children's education is my specialty. So we do have programs throughout the year. The summertime, like I said, we will be with different libraries, but my card is out there on the table. If anybody wants a vessel exam, if you have questions about a boat, please feel free to call.
Very much. Let's give her a hand.
You too.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. We're going to take a short recess, about 3 minutes and 8 seconds. And then Cheryl, you'll be next up, okay? All right, we'll be recessed. Okay, I'd like to reconvene our regular Board of County Commission meeting, and we'll move down to item G. I'll ask Ms. Cheryl Lynch with the Small Business Development Council to come forward, along with Kevin Monahan.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for your time this morning. In addition to a quarterly update, I've got information on the Food Innovation Center from the Yoho Roundtable that was held on April 30th. So we'll make sure that you guys get copies of that. Just to let you know, Chance Clay, David Dinkins, and myself met with Deputy Chief of Staff Kat Kamek out of Congressman Yoho's office to kind of review the next steps and what's needed with the Food Innovation Center. So Kat was very instrumental in inviting all the stakeholders. So in attendance, we had representatives from Congressman Yoho's office, Senator Marco Rubio's office, EDA, USDA, FDACS, which was Nikki Freed's office, and from the State Farmers Market, DEO, Enterprise Florida, St. John's River State College, the University of Florida, and IFAS, the Northeast Florida Regional Council, and 10 business owners / farmers that were in attendance. It was almost about 40 people. And we reviewed what the project was, where we are now, and basically we're just looking for money. We've done the studies, we've got the costs under control, we've identified the management entity who would manage the facility, all the programs that would be part of it, so now we're just looking for money. So all these stakeholders were at the table, a lot of crickets that day, but trying to figure out the best way. David Dinkins and I are meeting with a representative from Nikki Freed's office, Dick Crockett, who's our representative for this area, to kind of train him up on the background of the facility so he can go out and potentially market to private industry to see if private industry would be a component in funding like the Publix's, the Whole Foods, things of that nature to get some kind of matching money in the door. So with all that information, if you have any questions, I'll do my best. I know David and Chance aren't here, so.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How much money are you looking for to get this thing up and started?
It's about $2 million for the construction and all the equipment. The equipment's the major cost of it. The construction is probably between $600,000 and $800,000, depending upon when the final submissions go in, what the costs are at the time, things of that nature, and the fluctuation in the equipment as well, because the price of steel, tariffs, things of that nature that are affecting costs. So we're estimating all in should be about $2 million. Not a lot of money when you look at the bigger scheme of things.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other? Commissioner Rawls?
What can we do as a commission to help move this along?
Keep supporting it. Try and let us know if you know of avenues for funding. At our Small Business Week, I did run into the Community Director of DEO, Mario Rubio. He gave us great feedback, saying that this was a great project, and he'd like to see it involved in Putnam County's comprehensive plan, and I said, that's above my pay grade. I don't know anything about that, but I will pass on the information. So it is a viable project. It is a project that everybody's supporting. It's just a matter of finding those funds that we need to get it off the ground. This is outside my scope of work. My state director gave me carte blanche to help work on this because I'm bringing the businesses to the table. David Dinkins is working with all the farmers and IFAS community and UF, and it's just a matter of saying, okay, hey, where do we go? How do we get involved? It would be a great help if I could have a point of contact inside the county, so if we come across grants or whatever, we can just transfer the information if the county has to be the one that applies for the grants on behalf of the facility for infrastructure and things of that nature, so that could be a help.
Would that be extension or administration? Who would be the best point of contact for that, represent the county?
It probably, if I could, Mr. Chairman, it probably would depend on which grant it is. If it's something that the county itself has to, then I'd imagine he would have to go to Administrator Suggs and ask for it to move on from there. If it's a grant from a different department other than the actual county or the BOCC, then they'd have to start at that department head, I would think.
Mr. Chairman, if I've met with you and David, obviously. I've talked with several farmers and with IFAS, and they're very interested in this. And this has a lot of different potentials for the county. The early discussions, this revolved around taking excess crops that can't make it to market and utilizing that and being able to get it prepared and frozen and either utilizing the school district as a buyer, but also not food pantries, what's the term I'm looking for? Like farm share and those type of resources. So this thing has got a lot of tentacles to it. And helping them raise $2 million, in my estimation, really wouldn't be a lot of legwork for the BOCC to do if we could get the other key players to the table and get them to buy into this. So I don't know if this could be something we could look at for appropriations next year. Maybe, we're early on right now in the year, but we've got a lot of time between now and January to take a look at this.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Turner?
I think that every member of this board on multiple occasions have expressed how much they agree that this would be a great project for Putnam County. And if there's anything that we can do, that we'd be happy to do it. So this is not new that we wish we could get the money to fall out of the sky on top of you. Obviously, if we could, we already would have. But I think that I can speak for everybody sitting on this diocese that this would be a good project for Putnam County and the area participants in it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Harvey?
Cheryl, do you happen to know, I saw your fee schedule in there on private people, and that really kind of gets to me a little bit because, I'm trying to make some of my own sauce a little bit and dabble around with it. But, if I could do it in an environment like this, surely I would do that. Do you have any idea what the marketplace around Putnam County would look like as far as how many people are doing things like I'm doing, kind of in your own kitchen and not in an environment like this, and how we could take that to another level? You see what I'm saying?
Well, we've provided a dozen support letters from businesses that are ready right now, that as soon as it opened, they would get on the list and start producing. We even have a business from St. Augustine that came, Old St. Augustine Gourmet, that does daddle pepper sauces, similar to what you're doing, but they do dry rubs and things of that nature.
Everybody wins when we're competing. So,
Everybody
yeah,
wins.
exactly.
So what they brought up in the meeting was the fact that when they have to wait on somebody to do their processing for them, they're on a 6-week wait time.
Wow.
So if they run out of stock, they have to wait 6 weeks. It inhibits them to grow. So a facility like this would enable them to keep their stock up and ready, because there could be a windfall at any time based on who they're talking to, because they're starting to talk to major suppliers throughout the country. And then having the kitchens to innovate and create the new products to help them grow. So the purpose of this facility is to take those small businesses, get them to the point where they're growing and growing and growing, and now we say, okay, very good, now it's time for you to get your own facility. And we work with them to get them the financing they need and to build. But they've had the opportunity to do it themselves, make their mistakes in an environment that's not going to cost them a lot of money because they don't have anything financially invested in their own facility, learn the advanced manufacturing for the processing, learn the food safety, learn the labeling, learn the markets and how to launch a new product, so that when they grow to a point that they can jump into their own facility, they hit the ground running and their growth can be exponential.
Cheryl, go back to the question just a little bit. Did you do any takeoffs on what those 12 potential businesses that it would rent facility, what that would look like in an annual basis?
Well, if we maximize the kitchens, just the kitchens, we're looking about $180,000 to $200,000 a year, depending. You can have commissary agreements with food trucks where they have to dump their water, get their water, things of that nature. That could be anywhere from $400 to $600 a month or a year. It all depends. The fee rate is variable, and it's a moving target depending upon what comes to the table. So we've tried to address everything from nonprofits to food trucks, to processors, to caterers, to juice makers, to bakers, all across the board. So,
Thank you.
and we've got all of the above ready to go in.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Rawls?
The cottage industry are restricted on what they're allowed to produce in volumes. And I spoke to a gentleman that raises chickens, and one of his frustrations was they would like to get to the next level of free-range organic chickens and being able to sell locally. And this was conversation was having a couple of years ago, but I described this innovation kitchen and what it could do for them. And for them, it would take the restrictions off because there would be, my understanding, a USDA component to this that would be grading meats and all that. So you have a small farmer that's able to go to the next level. And then when you look at the participation of somebody like Winn-Dixie Bilo with the Jacksonville Bridges program, they reached out, Jack's Chamber reached out to them, and they agreed to set aside shelf space to smaller businesses. And I was fortunate to be at an event where there was 15 or 20 small manufacturers that had access to equipment like this, and they were producing, one lady that just absolutely blew me out of the water, produced a jelly called Chunky Monkey, and it was a banana jelly. And she was giving samples of it, and she had been given shelf space by Winn-Dixie to market her product. And had it not been for that, and being able to get access to a canning line, or a bottling line, whatever, she wouldn't have been able to produce her product. So this was a start of a very small business that was ramping up. So I think if we could make this part of our agenda moving forward and make this a priority somehow, whatever that takes, I would definitely be in support of that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions? Comments? Okay. All right.
Okay,
Thank you so much,
you've
Cheryl.
got the quarterly impact report in front of you for the SBDC for the first quarter of 2019. I also listed all of last year for 2018, and then the third column I put since the program started to date. So if you look at those numbers, the loans received, the capital investment, and the sales increases we capture when we do our annual survey to our clients. So all these numbers are documented from our clients directly. I can't just pull them out of the sky. They sign attribution forms, they fill out the survey, they let us know what the impact has been from the SBDC. So you've been getting about a 15-to-1 return on your investment here for the past few years, up and down, just to let you know. It's working. One small business at a time. Last week was Small Business Week, and we had our semi-annual advisory meeting, and I'll let Kevin update you as to what's moving forward with the SBDC on that.
Some very good news there. We had gotten some input that they felt that the Hispanic business communities in each of our 18 counties needed a little more help, and we certainly agreed with that. So we have gone out and we have just hired a bilingual individual who not only can help with translation, but also work with the businesses one-on-one. The individual is a successful businesswoman herself. So that will be helpful to Putnam as well.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
I'd just like to comment that I was at the SBDC advisory meeting the other day, and another thing that we talked about, oddly enough, is workforce development, the lack of workforce. Everybody in Northeast Florida is struggling with the same thing we are, but I'm trying to keep the focus on Putnam County and see if we can get some more help in getting our workforce training, especially with the low tech. It seems like there's been a lot of attention paid to the high tech, but I'd love to tell people that high tech still has to have a low tech roof over it. So at some point in time, hopefully we can start getting some attention in Putnam County towards those efforts.
Once again, thank you very much for your support here in Putnam County.
Okay. Cheryl, Kevin, thank you for what you do. Sounds like everything's working well.
Trying.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Kevin.
Yes. That seems fair.
Kevin. Thank you, Cheryl and Kevin, for that update. We'll move down to item H. I ask Mr. Don Peckham with the Planning and Development Department to come up and present the 2018 Floodplain Management Plan Progress Report.
Hey, Don, good morning. Is this in addition to what we got in our packet? Okay, okay.
Two items that are.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
The reason that I'm coming here is because the CRS program requires that I update the governing body and the media on an annual basis on our floodplain management. So I've prepared the reports, and we have submitted them to FEMA, as we have to do annually. The main difference from last year's report, of course, is this year's report includes data from Matthew and Irma. So we've increased our repetitive loss properties quite a bit. We have a lot more damages. We've also noticed that some of these repetitive loss properties have received insurance payments but have not come down for a permit. So what I've added to this morning is a letter that we've sent out trying to get these folks to come in and get some permits.
Don, Mr. Chairman, if I may, part of the problem, I think, in that respect is that the insurance company didn't pay enough for the repair. And so they don't have the money. I've run into that several times. So they don't have the money to do the total repair because or to make up the difference between what the insurance company paid and what they paid. And that's why I'm understanding that some of these properties still haven't been fixed or they haven't had permits pulled on them in some cases.
Yeah, in some cases that is true. In some cases the properties have been fixed and they haven't gotten a permit. There's some properties that have been paid twice. They got paid from each incident and they still haven't got a permit. So those people will be directing more directly if they don't, we'll be contacting them more directly if they don't come in and get a permit. I mean, we have to get them to get permits because FEMA will gig us on it if we don't pursue the properties that we know of. We have to make sure that they, either get a permit or come into compliance.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Peckham, does the insurance companies report to the county on the claims that are being paid?
We get a list, but it's way after the fact because by the time all that information is compiled, so Matthew and Irma were 2 years ago, and we're just now getting the data this year, so.
Is that from the insurance company or the National Flood Insurance?
It's from the NFIP.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, the insurance companies don't contact us at all. I wish they did, actually. I wish we knew who had claims in from the beginning. It would make our job a lot easier, but that doesn't work that way. And a lot of this information is protected under Privacy Protection Act, so it's touchy.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Rawls?
Would it be possible to send something out to all homeowners, maybe with their tax statement or trim notice, or maybe both, that has something that's very bold as a warning to the owner that if they have received monies that they need to
Yeah, we can do that. We have sent 883 letters out so far to repetitive loss areas. These are low-lying areas where people were likely to have problems. We're throttling the letters out because otherwise we'd be inundated, but to send them out with the tax statements, we would be inundated with people. But we've sent them out to selected areas that we know that where there were problems during the storms.
Well, you've got, with the additional burden of the city, we've got permitting for the entire county now under one roof. So is that going to compound the problem looking back, or?
It probably does not make much difference, really. I mean, in the big scheme of things, you know, it's probably easier in some respects that we have jurisdiction over the entire county rather than just the unincorporated areas.
But just speaking for myself, I would support anything you guys have to do to get the attention of the folks that are not in compliance. You know, it's probably easier to get it under control now than later if we get hit by another storm. And the last thing we want to do is have FEMA upset with us for not doing what we're supposed to do. So it's as distasteful as it may seem, it's, in my opinion, it's probably a good business practice for us to take a proactive approach and get these folks.
Yeah, we're trying to, you know, get folks to come in and talk to us. And even people that didn't have problems, some of these 800 people, a lot of them did not have damages, but they're in the areas that are considered repetitive loss areas. So because of the CRS regulations, we're required to notify those people. Before the two storms, we notified about 80 properties across the county. This time it was 880 something properties, so quite a jump. But we had two storms that exceeded the base flood elevation within a year, so.
Okay, Commissioner Turner?
You say that you're contacting the 800 people. So what are you asking them to do? You're asking them to come in, and you said you want them to come in and see you. So
Yeah.
what do you want them to do? If they haven't had any damage to their place, then what do you want to see them for?
So it's just a notification letter that if they have had damages, because we don't know if they did or not, we just know that they're in these repetitive loss areas. So the letter that I've given you, it explains to them that they're in an area that is low-lying and it could flood and has flooded. Some properties have flooded more than once in that area, and then if they've had any damages, that they should get a permit to repair them. So it's kind of like an informational letter. We're just trying to get the information out to them in case they don't know.
Who asked us to do that? Is it the part of the program that we send that out, part of this program that we're doing? Or?
It's part of the CRS requirements, yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we have to do a repetitive loss analysis, which I've done, the area analysis, and I've submitted that to you. Along with that, we have to send out letters to the properties in these repetitive loss areas so that the owners understand that they're in a low-lying area. And they can even come to us for direction on things that they can do to help with the situation that wouldn't even require a permit, such as flood venting and things like that, that they can do to existing buildings to kind of help out.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Harvey?
So piggybacking on what Commissioner Turner, these aren't necessarily people that have filed claims and gotten a payment. These are people that live in an area and you've deemed it repetitive flooding areas, right?
Well, FEMA has deemed it. So whenever someone has two claims against the NFIP, two losses, then they're considered a repetitive loss property. So we have to notify those people and the surrounding properties.
I got you.
So that's what we.
Now, let me ask you something. Did you see, what about the people that didn't file claims with FEMA? What about, because we saw in the last couple of years, places that are flooded that have never flooded before. So what happens, do we go out and determine that that's a new flood hazard area, or no?
No, FEMA determines the flood hazard areas, so when you have a storm that exceeds the base flood elevation, you can have damages in flood zone X, which is not considered a flood hazard area. There's one in Interlochen that's in flood zone X, and it's, for some reason, it's been flooded twice. So that does happen. So the flood zone area is just determined by the maps.
But if that person, say in Interlochen, that had a flood zone X that didn't file a claim, you would never know to contact their surrounding neighbors that they could be in a possible flood area anymore.
Correct, because it's an area that was not considered a flood hazard area. And
Right.
I don't know the specifics as to why he's flooding. It seems like he's not the lowest property there either, but he's had 2 claims. And I
No.
really would have to dig into it to figure out why he's had 2 claims, but.
You know, I think we've all noticed in the past couple of years, and I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure this out, that I think we've altered the land so much. We filled in areas that probably shouldn't. We put in culverts where we shouldn't have put culverts in. We did things that we didn't to help us, but downstream it hurts somebody else. And I think we've learned some of that as we go. I don't know all the specifics. This is just my observation of things, but, you know, truly, and thinking that it would, you know, because I remember my neighbor, I was putting new boards on my dock before Hurricane, I think it was Irma. Was that the first one? Yeah.
Matthew was first.
Matthew, yeah. And I was standing on dry ground, and he was telling me, we're never going to see our water back up again. We're never going to see it like it used to be. And he was out there driving on hard ground. And all of a sudden, within just a few months, you know, the dock is almost underwater, and 8 feet of water where I was mowing. I mean, that's almost unheard of.
Right.
So, you know, surely I think we've altered the land, and something's happened out there, you know. I don't know if it was a flood zone. I think it was almost created. We saw roads in the county that were washed out that never got washed out before, so.
Yeah, and like I said, it depends on the intensity of the storms, and even the storms that have preceded it. If you're in a long drought and you get a bad spell of rain, it's not going to affect it as much as when you're coming out of that drought.
And you know, Mr. Peckham, we just got a grant to clean out the Floor Home Drainage District canals. And we found in there obstacles that people put in to hold water back. You know, then all of a sudden all this water comes, and what do you think is going to happen?
Right.
And the county did go in there and clean some of that out, but that can't happen. That should not happen, because it's going to hurt people, and that people don't realize that.
Right. The fill is another issue. When you add fill in one place, it can affect the other areas. That's why the Land Development Code requires in a flood hazard area that you have to have a site work permit in order to do the fill. Because you can easily flood your neighbors or people downstream. So.
That's right. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, all right, thank you, Don.
All right, well, thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, Commissioners, if you'll check me, but I believe that's all the recognition presentations.
Wow, that was a long.
And if that didn't set a record, it should have.
On with the business.
Okay, so we'll back up to, before we go to public comment, we'll move back to the Port Authority. So I'd like to recess our regular Board of County Commission meeting. And I'd like to convene the Port Authority meeting. And the first item of business is item A, approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes as written down on the agenda.
Second.
Okay, we got a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey and a proper second by Commissioner Turner to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Item A passes. At this time, I'd like to open the meeting up to public comment. Any individuals wishing to speak on an item to come before the Port Authority? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion and open it up for general discussion. General discussion. I know we have the Port Authority on our workshop.
Yes, I'm going to wait for
Afternoon,
that.
2 o'clock.
I think what I have is, I can handle it at the workshop.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll adjourn the Port Authority and reconvene the regular Board of County Commission meeting, and we'll move to the public comment portion. The public comment portion is designed to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. It is not reasonable to expect that the board will engage in or debate or deliberation about matters on which the board has received no prior information as part of the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Public comment cards are at the entrance and the exit of our building. We appreciate if you would fill those out and hand them over to Sarah Oliver to your right, over to my left. And the first public comment is it Mary Reese, correct? If you please come forward.
Do I need to state my address?
Yes, if you please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mary Reese. I live at 2509 Fairway Drive in Palatka. I came before the commission 2 months ago with concern about the archives being lost. At that time, it was suggested that because there didn't seem to be a lead to take that lead. So I just wanted to give a really quick update on what we've done since that time. We reported back to the County Genealogical Society, and a committee was formed of 4 individuals, and they're trying to bring all the volunteer societies together so that we're in harmony. I think that's very important. We've spoken to Alachua, St. John's, and Clay County to see how their archives have are both structured as well as how they handle things, how they store things, etc. Yesterday, several of us, including our historian and former archivist, took a field trip to Clay County Archives. They gave us a tour of their research building, their storage building, and discussed their preservation methods. The county archivist there is under the clerk of courts, and I understand that at one time in Putnam County, the archives were also under the clerk of courts until 1978. That's something that we may or may not need to revisit. It was really exciting to go there and to kind of get a taste of the history of Clay County. But one of the things that they had on display was a picture of a man named Billy Joe Krebs. Well, it turns out he's from Putnam County, and he was a master safecracker, and he had been jailed in Clay County, and they had the actual lock that he made out of a spoon, and he had just memorized what the key looked like. I mean, the key out of a spoon. He had just looked at the key and memorized what it looked like, and he had made that key. And while the jailer was out to lunch, he let himself and all the other prisoners out of their cell. Well, what he didn't know was the main lock was on the outside of the jail. So when the jailer came back, all the prisoners were standing around. They were not able to escape. But I thought that was kind of cool that we found Putnam County history at Clay County. We're exploring ways of grant monies that might be available. That was one of the issues that was brought up, monies and things, and my time is up. And tomorrow, can I say one more thing? Tomorrow we have invited members from the Historical Society, the Genealogical Society, the library, et cetera, to all come together and put together what we researched, what we found out, and see if we can move forward as a group.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
if I could,
Okay.
I think it's appropriate for me to comment at this point. We really need to start having some more communication between the organizations in my office for the simple fact that last week we met with some of the folks that originally came before the commission about the archives. And we have determined that the facility out front, the old bank building, is the facility that we're going to look at utilizing for the archives. I've had Ms. Julianne Young sit in the meeting with us from facilities, and got with Mr. Senior. We're going to be looking at that facility to see what we can do this year. If we got, again, I don't want to use the word competing interests, but it sounds like we still haven't got a group working cohesively together. But as our job on the administrative side, we're going to move forward with putting an archive facility together so we can get this project moving forward and get it to completion. So I just want to let you know, we need to have a little bit more communication if we can between you folks and my office, so we don't leave someone out of the solution.
Thank you, Mr. So, Commissioner Rawls, do you have a comment?
Mr. Suggs alluded to what I was going to ask you. You said that you guys are starting to become a little more homogeneous, but
We are trying.
I think that's really going to have to happen before you guys can get a lot of help from us, because we're not going to be able to focus on 4 different groups.
Right.
So I'm not sure what it would take for everybody to let their guard down long enough to coalesce under one name or one entity, but that sure would be helpful.
Right, I agree totally.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Ms. Sharon Austin. If you want to come forward, please.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. If you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Sharon Austin. I reside at 158 West Lewis Broad Road in East Palatka, Florida, zip 32131. I guess my story started at the residence. My parents had a mom and pop, similar corner grocery store. And of course that dissipated, and right now I am trying to convert that into a community center. Although I have on a uniform, I work. But that is something that I have always wanted to do. And it's not going to be elaborate at this stage. It's just that it seems like, which we didn't have a problem having to pull commercial permits, but I was just informed that regarding the, I guess the sewer, which we had been regulated and come in compliance during the 80s when the businesses in East Palatka was regulated. And we were included, and we were blessed that we could come in compliance. It was not too expensive. Where I had just been informed with environmental as well as building and zoning that we have to wait until June 26th to a meeting comprising of other agencies. And I mean, we just want to be a community center helping children. I enjoyed your comment where you, Mr. Harvey, where you stated, had it not been for others, but you know, we were, and I'm in that generation, 58, so it's natural that I may not be rich, but I want to give, and I'm a wise person and would like to assist youth. And this is at an extremely small scale, you know, and it really affected my heart when I saw the representatives of the agriculture, you know, the children, and those of you who are around my age, 58, this place would have been packed. Because, of course, our county, as far as land-wise, is not small, but, you know, the density is small. And I thought that was such a great accomplishment for them to achieve that in this area and be in the top 10, well, I mean, most of us top 3 and 4. So that's why I want to do my community center, although it may be few, but I felt that when I saw them. So I want to give back to the community, but it's gonna sound extremely expensive. And of course, those of us who are around my age, whether you finish school or not, of course I did, you were equipped with a whole lot of skills and the capability and confidence that you can learn or have to do whatever. And I'm still at that stage at 58 where I work. They can stick me anywhere, I can do it. I will do it. So with our type of, I would say our guts and our background, we still need to attribute to these young people that did not get that kind of quality. And again, what I'm trying to do, and we're as serious, we may be only talking a few children because it's hard to get children interested in not only academic but skill, you know, capability, use your hands, but most of all have confidence. And thank you for your time. I got off this morning and I haven't been able to go, I didn't go to sleep, and I came over here. But this is, I only recognize one person I met on your panel. You probably don't remember. I'm about 50 pounds heavier. It's good stress.
Absolutely.
Trying to accomplish something. This is what we have already had done, being in compliance.
Why don't we do this, Mr. Chairman?
I was
if I
asking if
could-
there's somebody that you can put with her to
Yeah, I
help her,
think
help her through
that's
this process.
The
'cause-
easiest thing for us to do is for us to make an appointment for she and I to sit down with staff and walk through the process and see what it is they're wanting to convert over into a community center, what the process is, and get it on the track to successful completion and see what we can do to help out. How's
I
that?
appreciate that because, you know, it's time and money.
If you'll just certainly make sure Ms. Laura has your contact information before you leave. Ms. Laura, let's set up an appointment and see if we can get this going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Okay, Commissioner
Ma'am,
Rawls?
ma'am, you might want to reach out to Cheryl Lynch. She was just up here from the Small Business Development Center. They can help you along as well. I'm assuming you're going to set up a nonprofit? Or you? Okay, so they actually have representatives at the SBDC that can help you handle that. And if you're looking to do any fundraising, they might be able to lead you in the right direction there as well.
Yes, the fundraising isn't the issue. The issue is, you know, what the capacity, which is very small, and sewer.
It's a zoning matter. We'll walk through the process. We'll get her to where
Okay,
she needs
all
to
right.
be if we can.
Thank
do
you,
anything
Administrator
about it.
Suggs. Thank you, Ms. Austin. Okay, last public comment, Mr. Douglas Hayes. You state your name and address for the record, Mr. Hayes.
Good morning. My name is Douglas Hayes. I'm at 216 Hilltop Road, Satsuma. And I'm running for County Commissioner, District 3. Well, pre-ad. The reason that I'm here is to present a concern to me. And as you're going through the budget system, I had noticed on the 2018-2019 budget, first off, I now understand why it's award-winning in regards to the presentation. It's so informative. It's outstanding. Now, the numbers in it may not be award-winning, but the presentation's outstanding. I had noticed that we have been doing some grants consistently towards some different nonprofits. And where I have a concern is that, we apparently have given money consistently to the Stuart Markham Grant, the Swanee River Council, which is the Boy Scouts. My concern with that is we're giving them $4,000 a year to the council.
Not correct, Douglas, it's not the Boy Scouts.
Okay, last I knew that, I thought that's what the Swanee River,
Nope, not them, that's a behavioral health thing.
It's Stuart Marchman's behavioral health.
yeah, the Stuart Markham's behavioral health.
Right,
But the Swanee River Council, that's the Boy Scouts, is it not?
No, sir, not in this instance. There is a Swanee River Council of the Boy Scouts, but this is not who this money's going to.
Okay. And then the Putnam Family Fitness Center, which is a nonprofit, but we have it's over in Pomona Park. We have a Pomona Park Community Center, where my concern is that the fitness center, you have to pay for membership. So the $10,000 that we're giving to them, what good does that do to the gentleman or lady that lives in Interlochen? It's not a community center, it's not free fitness, so what program are they providing that they're eligible to get $10,000 of tax dollars? And so that's a concern to me. It's been consistent. Now, the Lee Connolly House also.
I'll research that. They do offer some programs, and also with that facility, we have no facility like that in Putnam County. It's the only one we have with the fitness equipment, and so they offer programs, and they also offer other groups to use that particular space. So, but for free. So, but I'll find out about that. But I think it's money well spent. So, but go ahead.
Well, I just was a little concerned about it, because from what little I do know is that there was a gentleman that created it, and one way to alleviate paying taxes on a nonprofit is he dumped the money back into equipment. And if you have to pay to be a member, and we're subsidizing, where's the money going? Some of these grants where have a suggestion is more of a competitive basis, because basically you're taking tax dollars and redistributing wealth, which back on the farm we used to call that socialism. I also want to thank you for your time. I would also like to address, I've had tainted opinion in regards to Lisa Suarez, the supervisor of animal control. And I've done some investigations, spoke with some people, and I want to retract some of my opinion. She has evolved immensely and has been a benefit to animal control. And I'm willing to recognize when somebody has evolved in the appropriate way. And thank you.
Okay.
The young lady that's trying to start the community center, I'm all for community centers. The USDA has a rural economic development grant available for community centers.
Yeah.
So perhaps you might be able to direct her in that way for funding. Thank you and God bless.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Okay. Any other public comment? Okay, I'll close the public comment portion of this meeting. And Commissioner will move down to item 7, the consent agenda. Are there any items the commissioners are wishing to pull? And I'll start with Commissioner Harvey to my far left.
I have none, sir.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes, I'd like to pull item A, the correspondence.
Okay, Commissioner Rawls?
Nothing.
Okay, Commissioner Goddard?
I have none.
Okay, and I have none. Okay, item A, list of correspondence, Commissioner Turner?
Yes, I would like to request a copy of the letter from Linda Myers. I haven't seen that, and I think that should have come to us and not just been stacked in correspondence. Is where she was requesting something from. Oh, yeah. Where she was requesting something I think we're supposed to do. So I didn't get to see the letter, I just noticed it in there. I think when we get letters, unless it's something that I'm unaware of or something, if we get letters from other officers or, excuse me, other constitutional officers, I think those letters need to, at least a copy of the letter needs to come to the board and not just be placed in the book in the lobby like communications usually are. And that's just my opinion. But in this case, I'd like to actually see this letter. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm willing to pass the proposed motion to pass the consent agenda items A through F.
Okay, we got a proper
Second.
motion for the consent agenda to pass A through F by Commissioner Turner. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a second by Commissioner Rawls. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, consent agenda passes. Okay, item 8, the Honorable Tim Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no items, and we look forward to this, speaking further with you at the workshop this afternoon.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, Commissioners, we'll move down to appointments, starting with Commissioner Rawls. Any appointments today?
I do have one. Give me just a second. I'd like to add Joel Danzler to the Fishing Fund Committee, and at the same time, I'll need to remove, give me just a second, I'll tell you the gentleman's name. What I did was I asked Ms. Oliver to give me a list of the participants of the Fishing Fund Committee. She sent me a copy of it. I have it here somewhere in this stack of paperwork. But the representative from District 2 has never made a meeting in the past 8 meetings. So I would like to have him removed and put Joel Danzler on. I did get some frustrating comments from a couple of members of that committee that they're in, I think it's 8 meetings, there was only 2 successful meetings because of lack of participation. So, and I'll find that here in just a second and give you his name.
Okay, so is that a district nomination,
Yes.
I guess? Do we need to vote on that to?
Mr. Chairman? Yeah, I have a point of clarity that I think we need to make. I don't know, do we have the ability to remove people? I don't know if we have any rules or regulations inside of these committees that allow us to make that change, although I support the idea of doing that. I do support the idea of
We've been discussing this for a couple of months.
Hang on. I do support the idea of doing that. I just don't want to do something outside of what we, what our rules and regulations for these committees mean.
Administrator
Mr. Chairman,
Suggs?
yeah, I can tell you that this is a committee that has the authority to make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. Have not, with our attorney being gone, have not researched it to the depth of appointments, but, you know, to use the word common sense would tell me that it's a committee appointed by the Board of County Commissioners, as they are a committee that has the obligation to look at oversight for a fund and make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. But we can get that information for you. I'll work with our current ones if that's a concern here today. But I will tell you that they've had a very difficult time with making quorums. Mr. Reynolds,
Well, I
myself, and
support-
Ms. Angie sits on that, in there,
Okay,
and they're.
all right. Commissioner Harvey still.
They have a quorum.
Yeah,
Administrator Suggs, Commissioner Harvey has the floor.
That's fine. I do support that idea. I would even like to take it farther. And I mean, I know that when I served on the Regional Planning Council, Commissioner, they did an attendance report that went to the governor. And if you didn't attend, you got removed. And I think that would be more than adequate.
I found it.
That maybe we start looking at all of our committees, that if they're not willing to serve, then you're taking up space for somebody who might be.
Absolutely.
So,
That was actually my comment section, so.
okay, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, the gentleman's name is Tim Donahoe. He's made no meetings at all since April of last year, so.
Have you had any comment? Have you had any contact with him?
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Turner?
Mr. Chairman, I also support this and have said previously several times that I support it. But I think that if we remove somebody, I don't know if we remove it by a commissioner or we remove it by a vote of the commission, for whatever reason, somebody needs to send that person a letter and says, for this reason, you have been removed from this committee. Even if he or she hadn't performed to the level that we wanted him to perform or he or her to perform, we still need to send them a letter to where, because that'll be the one meeting that person shows up to, will be the one that we just kicked them off, and then they show up at the next meeting ready to go to work, and they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, you're not on here anymore. So we need to at least let them know that we removed them from the committee because they didn't show up.
I believe we can send a thank you letter to them for their previous service and that we've moved
Something
on.
where they know they're not on there.
Yes.
Okay, all right, Commissioner Goddard?
Do we not have anything in place that says the committee needs to send us information that they want this person removed from the board before we just pull somebody off of the board and put somebody in there? Like you said, that'll be the next time they show up for the meeting. I think there needs to be a form. If we don't have one, we need to have some type of formal way of doing this, that the committee, this person is not showing up, we'd like to replace this person, and then be sent to us and we make the decision.
Well, Commissioner, I think this is a perfect item for a workshop.
Yep.
I think we've talked about it, or we beat around the bushes about it now for 2 or 3 months. I think it's time that we just discussed it at a workshop and said, okay, what do you want to do? And then we need to get legal counsel to tell us, in their opinion, do we need to have an ordinance to remove these people? Do we just need to set a policy? What do we need to do to make this happen?
You're gonna have to look at this, how each committee is constituted. And, there are probably different rules for different committees.
Okay.
All right, so we'll just hold off
I'm
on
seeing how you don't have anything to do but go fishing, now you do.
Well, yeah, but
Okay, all right, well,
I-
Mr. Goddard still has the floor.
I'm sorry.
I still have the floor here. And so now we are seeing something that's pretty muddy. We do need to clean it up. When we have great legal counsel, we can straighten this right out.
They should be here the next month or two. I hope.
But, you know, this is something, because one of the problems I've seen, and I think I've heard frustration from other commissioners, we don't know who's showing up to these meetings. We're not getting an attendance reading like we should. I don't know who would be responsible for that, but that's something I know I'd like to have. Who's showing up for these meetings? If they're not showing up for these meetings, why are they not showing up for these meetings? And do we need to replace them? Okay, with that, I give up the floor.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, if we could move this to workshop this afternoon, Mr. Castleberry, maybe you could do some research on just the fishing fund. Maybe we could put this, maybe we could put this to bed this afternoon. What's at risk here is we have a couple of members that have expressed frustration to the point they're going to quit. So I don't think that we want to lose people that are that passionate about something because of frustration of others not attending meetings. So if we could at least get this one put to bed and then use this as a stepping stone and start looking at the other committees, work on those in the next few weeks.
Mr. Chairman. Okay. Well, Russ, would it be illegal, do you think, at this point, or you just don't know enough about it at this point for the commissioner to remove the appointment from his
Yeah,
district?
we need to look at what.
Need to look at it first?
Established the committee, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
See if there's any specific rules.
Okay, all right, so we'll move that to the workshop, and Commissioner Rawls, I thank you, because I'm hearing the same thing, that they're having a hard time, getting a quorum, and there is frustration. And it sounds like the members that are attending are ready to do some research on our boat ramps and hopefully make some improvements
Yes.
on those, so I appreciate that. Okay, Commissioner Goddard? Any? Okay. Commissioner Harvey?
Where are we at?
Appointments?
Appointments.
How come it's zoned out?
We're at recognitions.
Hey, I had a mouse in the house that's free. No, I have none, sir, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Turner?
I have none today, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I do have one appointment. I'd like to renominate Ms. Mary Garcia from District 1 to serve on the Waterways and Trails Committee. She has agreed to do that. And down on the Transportation Disadvantage Local Coordinating Board, Commissioner Commissioner Goddard has agreed to take that over, and you've been in touch with, okay, Ms. Warren. So Commissioner Goddard, so we have that full, and I thank Commissioner Goddard for doing that. I was going to do it, but because I'm on the Ride Solutions Board, I could not serve as chairman on that board. It was a conflict of interest, so. Okay, that finishes the appointments. County Administrator, Mr. Terry Suggs.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, just a few. First off, just want to let you know that we've submitted the grant for DEO. Mr. Reynolds completed that this week and got it submitted to DEO for potential technical assistance grant for helping us with our comp plan update. So there was a very small window of opportunity there, and so Mr. Reynolds was able to gather up everything we needed. He and Mr. Brown worked very closely together to set the scope and everything for the grant itself, and so we got that submitted yesterday by timeline, and I understand we got a notification back that has been received, so we're good to go there. Now we'll just go through the process. Also on that same comment there as far as the comp plan itself and the update for the commission, just want to let you know that at the last workshop, it was discussed that we look at bringing in some outside assistance with the update to the comp plan, where we have an RFP that we have drafted, and I believe it's close to being ready to go from our General Services Department, again, with the assistance of Mr. Mike Brown. So we'll get ready to submit that RFP as well to bring somebody in or a consulting group in to give us some assistance with our update. And on just a couple of notes from today's meeting, what a great opportunity to celebrate the young men and women from the 4-H program. It's something that I think a lot of folks in our community doesn't recognize what the Ag Extension Office does countywide. And these are youth that are moving up into future leadership roles. And as you heard the young man speak today, he did that without any cliff notes. And that's, I don't know if you've ever had to try to do that, but that is extremely difficult. I'm very proud of that young man. The Coast Guard Auxiliary, who being here today for the boating week. I had no clue as a future, well, I hope to be a future boat owner. Now I know who I can reach out to for assistance, and to know that they do these things throughout our community, and they're services that they provide at no cost. So that, I think that was very good. And to have our locals recognized, our local volunteers and public safety folks, I think was really good. Today's meeting was a little different, and I know you guys noticed that, but we're still 3 hours into it. 95% of it was what's happening in Putnam County, and it was a very positive meeting today, a very great showing of the dedicated folks, the Millers from the Blueberry Farm, those folks. I mean, this is tremendous about the representation that we have here, and just very proud of that. And that's my comments, Mr. Chair. Just excited about what's happening in Putnam County.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. County Attorney, Mr.
Yeah,
Castleberry?
just briefly, just bring the board up to date in case you hear it on the street. The county is party to a small piece of litigation. There was a decision by the Code Enforcement Board some months ago that the Code Enforcement, actually the Special Magistrate, found a violation. That party appealed his decision to the Circuit Court. The Circuit Court affirmed the Special Magistrate decision and ruled with the county. That person has now taken that case for review before the 5th District Court of Appeal in Daytona. Our firm is handling that. Everybody's filed briefs in it. It's not a monumental case, but I just wanted to let the board know that it is going on. I doubt, I'll be surprised if we have oral argument. It's sort of a minor issue, but it's just one of those things, once somebody challenges that decision, the county has to defend it. So just in case you hear that, the person's name is Richard Colonel, and it involved an unpermitted swimming pool. So again, it's nothing that's going to change the history of the county, win or lose, but it's there.
Wonder why he just didn't go permit a swimming pool. Is it something, is it a pool
said
that
that-
they wouldn't allow him to have a permit on?
No, he says he doesn't need one because it's not really a swimming pool. It's used as a water reservoir to water his animals in case of a power outage. Although it's attached to his house, it's got steps on it and
Okay.
full screen, et cetera.
Sounds like the, the irrigation pits are digging down in South Putnam right now with no permits, because they say they don't need them, but they're hauling dirt out there in dump trucks.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Castleberry. Okay, Commissioner comments, Commissioner Goddard?
Well, you know what I'm going to say. There's always something going on in Putnam County. I wasn't here last weekend. Took my wife for her Mother's Day. She wanted to go over and go camping, go fishing. Unfortunately, she was sick, so she didn't get to do anything but enjoy the camping. But we have a county cleanup this coming weekend, and that has been very successful all over the place. I've been very pleased with that. We also have the Blue Crab Festival coming up, and I'll just briefly say, get out and see what's going on in Putnam County. We're very fortunate to live in this county.
Thank you, Mr. Goddard. Commissioner Rawls?
Cheryl Lynch glazed over, but at the SBDC's, at the Small Business Week, Mr. Mario from DEO was there, and he did encourage us to put the Innovation Center on a burner, and I guess potentially lean on them for a source of revenue, or source of funding. Waterways and Trails, we had a meeting last week. That committee is really working well. Excuse me. What we've done is we've split it into two subcommittees, so you literally have a Trails Committee and a Waterway Committee, and individually they're focusing on their areas of focus. Craig McLean does a wonderful job on the Trails part of it, and you've got Bob, starts with Bernstein, that's it. He's all about the river, and a huge concern right now, obviously, is the algae bloom in the river. At this point, it's just kind of a sit and wait scenario. We don't really know where it's coming from or what's causing it, but that committee is working extremely well. Mother's Day, we have, just celebrated Mother's Day. Want to give a shout out to all the mothers. Wanted to see if we could have a discussion at some point about having some town hall meetings, since we've got the budget coming up. I think it'd be a great idea if we could somehow do something in Interlaken for districts 5 and 4 combined, and maybe somewhere in the greater Palaca area for 3 and 2, and then head down to Crescent City and talk to the folks about what's coming up and where we are, where we need to get to, what we need from them, and start trying to drum up some citizen support and participation. And then I think we're going to continue whipping the committee participation at the next meeting, so we'll stop there. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Rawls. Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do want to bring your attention, Commissioners, you had this in your box. This is Sister Springs Baptist Cemetery. This is Private First Class Robert Jenkins Scholarship Banquet. It's coming this Saturday at the Interlaken Elementary School cafeteria. And if you're interested in going, there are tickets. They're $25 for a donation. And the event is at 6 o'clock. So if you're interested, let me know, and I'll let Mr. Leo Granger know that you'd like to attend that. Speaking of the countywide cleanup, I will be heading up the one in West Putnam at the corner of 315 and 20 at 8 o'clock in the morning, this coming Saturday morning till about noon. And I think it's a great time. And Press, I'm going to ask you to kind of take the lead on this. But I think it's a great time that as soon as we get everything cleaned up, that you mow it up. Contact the local municipalities. But I always thought that we should work in conjunction with that. There's no reason for you to mow it and then we clean it up. It should be the opposite way around. So I think it would be good to know that your mowing schedule can coincide with some of these cleanups, that you could hit certain areas. And also, Press, if there's areas that you deem to be troublesome, say County Road 315 is a problem, and you know it's a problem, if you'll let Chris Mitchell know with Keep Putnam Beautiful, that she can let me know, and I can send a crew into specific areas. I think Commissioner Pickens, you're doing an area. I think Commissioner Goddard, you're going to do an area. We'd be glad to help facilitate that, and then when the mowing does happen, it won't be such a big mess. And I want to say something that kind of bothered me today. And I don't get bothered too often, but, you know, when people stand before us and they have opinions of our workers, and believe me, I have opinions of some workers also, but, you know, you don't really know what they go through in life. You don't know how hard they work. You don't know the conditions they work at. And just to be able to stand there and throw it out that I had problems with somebody, walk a mile in their shoes before you start judging them a little bit, because you'd understand that I think our county employees try to do the best job they can possibly do under the circumstances that they work in. And I applaud every one of them. And I tell you, if you really go out there, and it's no secret that Lisa and her staff was out till 2 in the morning with that cockfighting situation that happened, and they were housing those chickens. And I mean, come on, that's above and beyond. And, you know, I didn't stay up till 2 in the morning housing chickens last night, but a lot of people did a few weeks ago. And just want to say that walk a mile in their shoes before you come here and try to, luckily today they were trying to build them back up, but think about before you speak. There. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. Before I go to Commissioner Turner, I'd like to add to that is that I think it's education and understanding of what our employees go through on the job and in their personal lives. And I'm sure Mr. Hayes has no idea the health problems that Lisa has had over the last few years. And I was going to stop him dead in his tracks if he hadn't retracted and commented on her, because what he's done is he's learned what Lisa means to animal control and to our county. So he has had an experience where that's positive rather than just all of a sudden, you know, I've got a negative opinion of you. So he's changed, and I think that's positive. So Commissioner Turner.
Under Commissioner requests, a couple of things. I'd like to find out where we are on our spray rig and for our spraying our ditches. Have we put out an RFP for that yet? I mean, we voted to fund it. We voted to go that route, and everything. Have we started that process yet? We've already started mowing, or the county's already started mowing, and this is when you start spraying, is when you start mowing. If you wait till the tree or till the bushes in the ditches are big as trees, then when you spray them, there's big old brown and black stuff in the ditches. If you can get them sprayed when they're a little bit smaller to keep them from growing, then you don't have the big giant debris that you got to do something with later on. So I was wondering, have we done anything about that yet?
I'll get that answer for you, Commissioner Turner, by 2 o'clock today, see where we're at with it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Also, before this meeting, I approached press and asked what he thought about DOT letting us put a sign up on DOT right of way, or if they would like throw us in sign jail if we decided to go put a sign up that says no Jake brakes, or please be aware of noise or something. Evidently, when you're coming down Highway 100 and you're headed towards San Mateo, and you make the sharp corner right at the end of East End, evidently they shut it down with Jake brakes, and it'll rattle the windows on the house for a block in every direction. So what I was wondering is, I don't think we have any ordinance that says we can do anything about it, but we could maybe hang a sign out there that says, please be aware that, or something, or please do not use Jake brakes in this area, or whatever the case, something that we could put up there. I mean, we can't really do anything about it other than let Joe stand out there with his speed gun, and that'll slow him down. But anyhow, all kidding aside, that's a pretty serious issue for those people that live in that whole area around there. Just got half of it or a third of it calmed down with a sign, it would maybe help. So That's all, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Turner. Also want to mention the countywide cleanup. I will be in charge of the cleanup in and around Crescent City. And I want to thank Earl Bellinger, who's a regular attendee here at our meetings. He's coordinating with the Republican Club, and they're going to clean up a portion out by the high school. So I appreciate you doing that. We've got some individuals from the city, the Women's Club, and some of our churches are going to help clean up. So that's from 8 to 12, Saturday, May 18th. Also, the town of Pomona Park is having their annual Founder's Day the same day from 11 a.m. on, and it's their 125th anniversary. So they're going to have some hot dogs and hamburgers at the John Berquist Mayor's Park, which is a former mayor of Pomona Park who passed away about a year ago. And they say they're going to have some lifelong residents who will speak about the town back in the day, so that should be pretty interesting. And I just want to reiterate what Commissioner Goddard says. If you don't think there's anything happening in Putnam County, you just need to go and look, and we have a lot of things going on. I think this was a really good meeting. It was probably the shortest consent agenda that I've had since I got elected, 3 years ago. And, but the presentations were spectacular. I think all of them, from the proclamations to the 4-H, recognizing the Rotary Club and those individuals for coming up to Tallahassee to help make Rural Days such a success. And I want to commend the staff that came. Quinn Ramey, I know you and Ryan were there, all the commissioners and their wives, and Liam, our little ambassador, because that really was a great event, and it's just going to build momentum. Unfortunately, it looks like we may have to do that again in January, so it's coming up sooner.
Be a lot cooler.
Exactly, so it will be cooler. So anyway, and I want to, I know we all has recognized staff and what they do for us, but I just want to single out Matt Reynolds. About 6 months ago, in a really short period of time after a meeting, I was supposed to speak at the Republican Club, and Buddy Goddard thought he was going to be able to do it, and he could not do it. So about 30 minutes before I was supposed to speak, I had nothing written down. So I got with Terry Suggs, Administrator Suggs, and Matt immediately put me down some bullet points and really kind of saved the day for me, because I think I did pretty well at the Republican Club. And I asked Matt to do that again, and I just want to thank Matt, and he came through again. Actually, Terry Suggs actually emailed me the bullet points, but I believe Matt probably came up with them and said he was too busy to get them to me. So, but I just want to recognize Matt Reynolds. You've been a great addition to our staff, with teaming with Stacy Papel with our budget. And you can see Douglas Hayes even said that it was real easy to read what he was reading. So I know that's y'all's team effort, but I just want to thank you so much for your service, okay? And is there any further business? We have a 2 o'clock workshop. We stand adjourned.